Chapter 1389. Baby, Jun Changshao said. Thank you for your help. The system fell silent. The host has not encountered any danger since he came to find the magnetite vein. This is far from the dragon's lair and tiger's den described. Woody will never be able to escape from the door. But will I never be able to escape from being slapped in the face? Jun Changshao took out the map again and compared the surroundings seriously. Finally, he confirmed that this was the place he was looking for. That fellow didn't lie to me. I'm rich. Although he had never seen a mine in the upper realm, he had dug up quite a number of them in the lower realm. The gathering of such majestic heaven and earth attributes meant that there must be an extremely rich amount of magnetite underground. What Jun Changshao lacked the most now was money. If a mine could provide him with a large amount of resources, it would definitely be super awesome. Patriarch. The Black Rakshasa calmed down and said, could the people from Spirit Micro True Sect have discovered it too? The big guy fighting with it might be the demonic beast that was guarding the mine. That's great. Jun Changshao said. Let them restrain it. We'll fish in troubled waters. The Black Rakshasa's mouth twitched. If that was the case, what they were doing now was equivalent to snatching a mine from a truth-grade powerhouse. Exciting. Too exciting. Let's go. Jun Changshao jumped down first, and the rest followed closely behind. Dense vegetation grew in the basin, and there were demon beasts of different strengths. However, due to the hidden cultivation technique, they did not discover any humans near the area with the densest heaven and earth attributes. Swoosh. Swoosh. After a while, Jun Changshao and the rest stopped at the central area. This was a relatively empty area. They could clearly see with the naked eye the majestic heaven and earth attributes surging up and gathering in the air in the form of mist. Patriarch. The Black Rakshasa concluded. There must be a mine below. Swoosh. Swoosh. Jun Changshao waved his hands. Dozens of small flags flew out quickly and were inserted at the edge of the empty space, instantly forming an isolation formation. The Black Rakshasa was amazed by the smooth formation technique. With the Patriarch's understanding of formations, he would be considered a master in the upper realm, right? It had to be done. After nearly 10 years of research, all his hair had fallen off. His efforts had not been in vain. Moreover, after coming to the upper realm, he had also obtained an atlas related to formations from the old man in Taishan. After studying it carefully, his experience points could be said to have skyrocketed. It was undeniable that Jun Changshao had relied on the aptitude fluid to raise his level when he came into contact with the array Dao. But when it came to researching the heaven and earth seizing fortune array, he completely relied on himself. Don't overlook Go Sheng's strengths, his perseverance, and, I can't continue lying. After the formation was set up, everyone stopped suppressing their cultivation and began to dig in the open space with all kinds of spiritual energy. Jun Changshao had a clear division of labor. He and his disciples were in charge of digging the hole, while the Black and White Rakshasa were in charge of guarding it. If the people of Lingwei True Sect came, they had to hold them back or lure them away. This magnetite vein is mine for sure. Such heavenly treasures did not belong to whoever found them, but to whoever dug them out. No one could forcibly occupy it unless there was an absolute suppression of strength. With Go Sheng's low-key personality, even if the immortal level sects had their eyes on the vein, as long as he wanted it, he would definitely find a way to get it. There was no other way. Who asked my master to be Jinren Tonggu? Who asked me to have a backer that even the Realm Hall is afraid of? It could be seen that Go Sheng was going deeper and deeper into the path of cheating his master. Although it was nothing for the time being, when all kinds of conflicts erupted, it would inevitably turn into a huge pot as heavy as Mount Tai. Whether Jinren Tonggu could carry it or not would depend on how strong his Taoist heart and strength were. Swoosh. Swoosh. Jun Changshao and his disciples worked together to dig. Under the many times acceleration, a huge hole about a few hundred feet deep appeared, just touching the rock layer on the surface of the vein. Patriarch. Xiao Ziji held a pure ore and said excitedly, We've dug up a magnetite. Dig. Dig quickly. Yi Xingchen and He Wudi immediately dug in high spirits and broke the surrounding rock layer one after another, forming the shape of a hole. The scene that appeared in their field of vision was crystal clear magnetite half embedded in the soil. "Oh my God!" Xiao Ziji exclaimed. "So many!" Iwudi said solemnly. "It has to be at least a medium-sized vein." Jun Changshao was wild with joy. "We're going to be rich." Patriarch. At that moment, the Black Rakshasa sent a voice transmission. "The people from Spirit Micro True Sect are here." Jun Changshao hurriedly said. "The isolation array will be discovered at a certain distance. Don't let them get close." "Yes." The Black Rakshasa and the Black Rakshasa exchanged glances, and a strong sense of excitement surged into their hearts. Then, they flew out from the dark and charged towards Spirit Micro True Sect with full cultivation. True-level sects had 6th refinement core experts. The two of them rarely provoked them when they roamed the pugilistic world. Now, for the sake of their sect, they naturally did not care. Back to the people of Spirit Micro True Sect. After dealing with the demon beasts guarding the vein, they rushed over at their fastest speed. One of the bearded men frowned. "Strange, why would anyone appear in this area?" The leading old man said. "Maybe itinerant cultivators who barged into the Demon King's cave and accidentally walked in." Fifth Elder only shouted and scared them away. "They should be itinerant cultivators who barged into the forbidden area," someone said with a smile. The experts of Spirit Micro True Sect did not expect that not only did those cowards not leave, they were even brazenly digging the vein. Furthermore, because they had mining experience, they obtained the magnetite extremely quickly. Especially Jun Changshao. He released the earth of the 5 elements and established a connection with the soil. Magnetite fell off one after another. Xiao Ziji, who was in charge of storing them, was extremely busy running around. "Ha ha ha." The middle-aged man laughed loudly. "Judging from the heaven and earth attributes gathered in midair, this is at least a medium-sized vein that stores 1 billion magnetite. If we dig it all out, we can replenish the sect with many resources." If Gosheng heard this, he would probably jump up in excitement. 1 billion. This might be a small goal in the eyes of the richest man, but in the eyes of an ordinary sect, it was definitely an astronomical figure. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just as the experts of Spirit Micro True Sect were about to approach the basin, the black and white Rakshasas rushed out from another direction. Without any explanation, they gathered all kinds of true energy and launched an attack. "Someone's here. Be on guard." More than 10 core reincarnation realm experts quickly gathered together. All kinds of martial arts and supreme treasures were revealed, dispersing all kinds of attacks. Swoosh. The black and white Rakshasas landed on a huge rock and said coldly, "I didn't expect to meet an enemy here." Enemy? The experts of Spirit Micro True Sect immediately realized that they had met an enemy. However, when they saw the other party's true appearance through the mask, they found them to be very unfamiliar. They could not help but wonder if their sect had offended these 2 6th Revolution core reincarnation realm experts. They had not offended them. The black and white Rakshasas said this to divert their attention and not let them think about the vein. "The two of you," Spirit Micro True Sect's 5th Elder said coldly, "what enmity do we have?" More than 10 of them could deal with the 6th Revolution core reincarnation realm demonic beast. They naturally did not fear the black and white Rakshasas. However, there was a vein here, and they did not want outsiders to know about it, so they could only avoid fighting. "I'm afraid that everyone has forgotten what happened on Mount Yinwu, Cloud Mist Mountain." The 5th Elder and the others were confused. Spirit Micro True Sect had been to this place 1,000 years ago, but none of them were involved, so they did not know what happened. Right. If they were present, how could they deceive them? The white Rakshasas said coldly, "It seems that you all have forgotten. I need to tell you what happened and let you understand what it means by every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor." He and the black Rakshasas only had one goal, to prevent the other party from getting close to the isolation formation and stall for time. The 5th Elder was also worried that the two would discover the vein, so he tried his best to stabilize his emotions and prevent the situation from worsening. Thus he cupped his fists and said, "I'm all ears." "Damn, so cooperative." The white Rakshasas did not hold back, he said. This matter started from half a month before we went to Cloud Mist Mountain. Stalling for time was the same as fighting in the pugilistic world. 1 chapter for fighting, 1 chapter for making a move, 1 chapter for using one's trump card. He had learned the essence of it. He spoke from half a month to the day of the incident, causing the experts of Spirit Micro True Sect to feel dizzy. Brothers. At this moment, Jun Changshao transmitted his voice. We're done digging, retreat. Chapter 1390. Finished digging? The white Rakshasa and the black Rakshasa were dumbfounded. Calculating the time, it had been at most an hour since they arrived at this basin. Even if it was a small vein, it would take at least a few hours to dig. It was true that it would take a lot of time to dig up all the stones, no matter how big the scale was. However, even if Jun Changshao dug them all out, it would only take him about 10 minutes at most if Bai Luocha started to stall for time. Why was it so fast? Because Jun Changshao spent 100,000 contribution points to buy a product called or harvester from the system shop. When he took it out and pressed the start button, the magnetite hidden in the layers of soil seemed to be pulled by some kind of force and flew out in a hurry. Holy shit! Xiao Ziji Yi Xingchen and the others widened their eyes. Pieces of magnetite drilled out of the soil layer and then merged into what seemed to be an infinitely large container. It was so fast that it was like a locust swarm passing through. Days or even dozens of days of mining work were finished by the ore harvester in just 10 minutes. Ding! After all the magnetite was collected, a bunch of numbers appeared on the machine's screen. 100,000, 10,000. Jun Changshao recited a long string of numbers. When he reached the end, he held his head and looked at everyone, then exclaimed in disbelief. 1. 2 billion. That much? Yi Xingchen and the others were also shocked. Swoosh. Swoosh. After a brief moment of shock, Jun Changshao stood in the front row. The Purple King stood in the second row. Yi Xingchen, Xiao Ziji, and He Wudi stood in the back row. The 5 of them immediately danced to the Pure Land of Bliss to express their excitement and joy. Damn it! A group of staff. Rows of Flowers frowned and said, Stop dancing. The black and white guardians are still holding back the Lingwei True Sect outside. We have to leave this place as soon as possible. Yes, yes. Jun Changshao immediately returned to normal. He immediately sent a voice transmission to the black and white ghosts, then led a few disciples out of the cave and slipped away. After receiving the news of the retreat, Bai Rakshasa immediately clarified the main point and said, A supreme treasure has appeared on Mount Yunwu. The 2 of us just went over to join in the fun and didn't have any intention of snatching it. Why did your Lingwei True Sect attack us for no reason? The 5th elder and the others immediately collapsed. It was such a simple matter, yet he had to start from half a month ago. During that time, he even explained in detail what she ate, drank and did. Was there something wrong with this fellow? Something's wrong. The 5th elder seemed to have thought of something and said, Although my spirit essence True Sect sent people over when the supreme treasure of Mount Yunwu appeared, they were only there to join in the fun and did not participate. Why would they attack you? Not involved. Bai Luocha scratched her head and said, Could it be that we remembered wrongly? Both of you. The 5th elder cupped his hands and said, All those years ago, my spirit wisdom True Sect only sent 2 elders over, and the treasure was seized as soon as we arrived at the area. There's definitely a misunderstanding. Perhaps someone is intentionally using the name of my sect to frame us. Seeing how sincere you are, I'll believe you this time. Bai Luocha said, However, we will investigate carefully. If we confirm that it was done by your Lingwei True Sect, we will definitely go to the sect personally to seek justice. Let's go. Whoosh. Whoosh. The 2 turned into streams of light and slipped away in a spiral formation. They left just like that? The expressions of the spirit essence True Sect experts were a little interesting. The 5th elder secretly heaved a sigh of relief. These 2 rank 6 experts did not force them and escalated the situation to the point of fighting. This also prevented the possibility of the magnetite mine being exposed. Let's go. Swoosh. 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 Everyone walked towards the basin area. and soon passed through the completely dissipated isolation formation. However, when they stopped in front of the huge pit that was hundreds of feet deep, the muscles on their faces froze. The mine had been dug up? Time did not allow them to think. They immediately jumped into the pit. When they saw that there was not a single magnetite left in the pit apart from the dirt scattered on the ground, they were dumbstruck. Puff! The fifth elder could not hold it in, and spat out blood on the spot. They came here a few days ago, and were preparing to dig when the demon beast guarding the mine appeared. In order to ensure the safety of the magnetite underground, they purposely lured it away. Although they dealt with it in the end, when they returned, there was nothing left. Fifth elder, an expert said angrily. Those two were definitely stalling for time. Puff! The fifth elder spat out another mouthful of blood. Only when the truth was completely exposed did he realize how stupid he was. Damn it! Another elder clenched his fists and said, "Who dares to steal our spirit essence true Sect's magnetite mine?" If Jun Changshao heard this, he would definitely have a tut on his face. It was clearly a public resource, but you did not even dig a hole. How dare you say it's your own mine? Chase! The fifth elder said angrily. Don't let those two escape. Whoosh! Whoosh! More than 10 experts of Spirit Essence True Sect flew out of the mine and followed the black and white rakshas. However, they could not find them even after searching for a long time, because they were in the opposite direction. Was it over just like that? No. The fifth elder gradually calmed down. He clenched his fists and said angrily, "Did Pei Seely tell others the location of the mine, so they were the first to dig it out?" It's possible. Let's go to Fujian Sect. Strictly speaking, this magnetite mine belonged to Pei Seely. After all, he was the first to discover it. But in order to save his life, he gave the ownership to Jun Changshao. Then, how did Spirit Essence True Sect arrive first? The reason was very simple. Patriarch Pei was angry that he was beaten up by Jun Changshao and lost a mine. So he found this true sect, and used the excuse of becoming a subsidiary sect to offer the specific location. In short, Jun Changshao knew first, and Spirit Essence True Sect knew later. However, their car was good and fast, so they arrived at the destination first. Fortunately, they came quickly. Otherwise, Go Sheng would have to face a 6th transformation demon beast, and others might even take advantage of the situation. Awesome! After walking far enough away from the Demon King's cave, Jun Changshao took off his night clothes and disguise, and a bright smile appeared on his face. In a short time he obtained 1.2 billion magnetite. This was definitely a huge fortune for a sect that had just arrived. Damn it! He could finally straighten his back. Swoosh! Swoosh! The black and white rakshasas caught up from behind. When they learned that 1.2 billion magnetite had been dug out, their eyes almost popped out. Patriarch! The black rakshasa said solemnly, "This is a huge fortune. Spirit Essence True Sect will definitely not let it go." "Don't worry," Jun Changshao said indifferently. "With the disguise mask and the hidden cultivation technique, they definitely won't know who dug out the magnetite." "But," the black rakshasa said worriedly, "we didn't disguise ourselves when we were discovered." "Indeed." Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, "This is a flaw. Anyway, the magnetite was already in their hands. So what if they knew? At most, they would hide in the sect and not develop in peace." Go Sheng's principle was that anything that entered his pocket was his. If they came to him for it, he would definitely not give it to them. Fujian Sect, outside the main hall. Pei Seely, who was still recuperating, stood trembling. Cold sweat flowed down his forehead, because all the experts standing in front of him were from Spirit Essence True Sect. Seniors. After a while he gritted his teeth and said, "The sect of all times patriarch knows the location. He must be the one who dug out the ore vein." Chapter 1391. Yes. Spirit Micro True Sect had discovered Jun Changshao's true appearance when they were fighting with the demon beasts, but they did not suspect him at all. Instead, they had obtained key clues from Pei Seely. Patriarch Pei. Fifth Elder's gaze was cold. How did the sect of all times know this? Pei Seely's forehead was covered in sweat. In the end, he had no choice but to tell them what had happened. Hee. Fifth elder laughed coldly. Patriarch Pei was bullied by that fellow. He told us about the magnetite mine. So, he wanted to use us to do the dirty work. No, no, no. Pei Seely hurriedly said. I'm sincerely seeking refuge with your sect. This fellow's scheme was quite deep. He had many intentions for telling Spirit Micro True Sect the location. First, if they could snatch the mine, Fujian Sect would be able to ride on their coattails. Second, it would be perfect if they had some friction with Jun Changshao during the mining. In the end, Spirit Micro True Sect had reached first, but the magnetite was still dug out by someone else. Pei Seely was not sure if the person who had dug it out was Jun Changshao, but he would definitely point the finger at him now. After all, he had to give an explanation. Moreover, it was an excellent opportunity to kill with a borrowed knife. Sigh. Fujian Sect Patriarch Pei Seely's path was getting narrower. Let's go, Fifth Elder said. To Phoenix Perch Immortal Mountain. He knew what Pei Seely was thinking. Regardless of whether the Sect of all times had dug it out or not, he had to go and investigate. After all, a medium-sized mine could store at least 1 billion magnetite. Fifth Elder, a middle-aged man, said, I heard that the master of the Sect of all times Patriarch is the Taishian itinerant cultivator. The guy who stays in his room all day and likes to study Chimanduanjia? That's right. Humph. Fifth Elder's gaze was filled with disdain. The middle-aged man suggested. If the Sect of all times really dug out the magnetite, they might not dare to admit it. Why don't we capture the Taishian itinerant cultivator first? Then, we won't have to be afraid that he won't admit it. Do you have news of that fellow? Yes. He's in Green Shadow City. Green Shadow City. It was extremely far away from the timeless immortal mountain. The Taishian old man, who had run away with his luggage, was sitting leisurely in a tea house, drinking tea. He thought to himself, sure enough, the further away I am from that guy, the smaller the ominous sign. The pitiful legend of the falling star continent had been tricked by Go Sheng, and had no choice but to leave. However, putting down the teacup, the Taishian elder thought to himself, this kid should be able to become stronger in the shortest time possible. When the time comes, I should be able to change the IOU. All in all, he was more optimistic about Jun Changshao. Shua. Suddenly, an old man with a strong aura sat down and said, You're the Taishian wanderer? The Taishian old man was about to answer, when he suddenly realized that there were several experts around him, whose auras were not weaker than his own. He became vigilant and asked, Who are you? Pa. A token engraved with the word Spirit Micro True Sect was placed on the table. Seeing this, the guests who were drinking tea in the tea house suddenly had a strong sense of fear in their eyes and disappeared from the tea table as quickly as possible. The Taishian old man frowned and said, What's the matter? The fifth elder said, Your disciple robbed a mine of our Spirit Micro True Sect. Ah. The Taishian old man's eyes widened immediately. He didn't have a disciple, but he instantly realized that the other party must be talking about Jun Changshao, because this guy shamelessly called him master. That bastard was not satisfied after provoking a few Xian-level sects. So he started to provoke true-level sects? How did he survive in the lower world, when he was so courting death? Everyone. The Taishian old man smiled bitterly and said, If I say that I've never taken a disciple, would you believe me? What do you think? Sigh. The Taishian old man shook his head, jumped out of the tea house with agile movements, and then fell into a special prison prepared in advance by the Spirit Micro True Sect. Crack. The prison door closed. No. The Taishian old man grabbed the railing and roared, I'm not that guy's master. I won't take responsibility for the trouble he caused. At this time, it was too late to say anything, because he had already been lifted up like a prisoner and escorted out of Green Shadow City in front of everyone. What's going on? Judging from his clothes, he seems to be from the Spirit Micro True Sect. What did the old man do? I don't know. Everyone whispered. This kind of direct arrest was very disrespectful to a city, but the internal guards pretended not to see it, because true-level sects were existences they could not afford to provoke. I have nothing to do with the sect of all times. That guy is not my disciple. Let me out. On the way to the ancient immortal mountain, The Taishan old man kept roaring, cursing Jun Changshao in his heart. Achoo! Go Sheng, who had just returned to the sect of all times, sneezed, then rubbed his nose and thought to himself, is someone talking bad about me? 2 billion Xian stones. This number was really huge. After returning to the sect, Jun Changshao began to seriously think about how to deal with it. Although the heaven and earth attributes and laws here are strong, they are not as pure as the Xian stones. So, take out 1 billion Xian stones and give it to the disciples, and the remaining 200 million will be used for the sect's cash flow. The main mission was to make the sect immortal level, so distributing martial Dao resources to the disciples and letting them increase their strength faster was undoubtedly the best choice. The next day, 100,000 disciples lined up and received 10,000 Xian stones from the higher-ups for cultivation. Although the number is huge, Jun Changshao shook his head and said, but it's not much for them. When he first developed in the lower realm, a few 100,000 Xian stones could be used to supply a few hundred disciples. Now that he had brought 100,000 Xian stones up, the martial Dao resources needed were really huge. The system said, the host needs to obtain more martial Dao resources. Amen. Jun Changshao nodded. With 200 million Xian stones and an elixir store, there would only be more and more ways and opportunities to earn money. This made him quite confident. The disciples of the sect of all times who had received 10,000 Xian stones each entered a state of cultivation again. This time, with the supply of even purer energy, their realms were destined to increase. As for how much they could increase, it would take time to determine. Whoosh whoosh, whoosh whoosh whoosh. Almost every once in a while, someone in the sect would break through, and advancing to Wu Huang and Half-Saint had become the norm. Inside the main hall, Jun Changshao called over Lu Qianqian, Su Xiaoma, and Li Fei, and gave them their exclusive divine weapons after entering the Lingyan Pavilion. Lu Qianqian's exclusive divine weapon was called Calm Frost, and its form was a translucent jade bracelet that released ice attributes at any time. Su Xiaoma's exclusive divine weapon was called Yellow Springs Guides the Way, and its form was a lamp. Li Fei's exclusive divine weapon was called Jade Void Pill Sun, and its form was a stone. The two brothers looked at their exclusive divine weapons, and then looked at the exquisitely carved jade bracelet on eldest senior sister's wrist. Their expressions immediately became interesting. They were both disciples, but the gap between them was so big. However, thinking of Yi Xingchen's wine jar and Xiao Ziji's cauldron, the two of them immediately felt relieved. After equipping the core disciples with new equipment, Jun Changshao took out the 3 experience talisman that were rewarded for completing the mission, and then crushed them one by one. Although he felt that his strength had increased, there were still no signs of a breakthrough. As expected, he shook his head and said, breaking through to the second stage can't rely on just 2 or 3 experience talisman. Every stage is equivalent to a big realm. When the host was in the lower realm, he didn't rely on the experience talisman to advance. The system said, wait. Jun Changshao's expression changed and said, according to what you said, if I want to break through to the next level, I still need to complete the epic mission. In theory, yes. Fuck. Gosheng had never thought about breaking through. Now that he heard the system say that, he immediately collapsed. If he really had to complete an epic mission according to the first stage, he would need to complete another 8 to reach the 9th stage. The most fucked up thing was that each level was not divided into more detailed realms. Who knew when he would be able to meet the requirements to trigger the epic mission? I'm messing around. Jun Changshao was already used to being cheated by the system, so when he could not change reality, he could only resign himself to it. A few days later, the black and white Rakshasa sent a voice transmission. Patriarch, the people from the Lingwei True Sect are here. What? Jun Changshao hurriedly flew to the front of the mountain gate. With his spiritual senses released, he immediately captured the sky outside the Aeon Immortal Mountain. Streams of light were moving at an extremely fast speed. They were the experts of the Lingwei True Sect that he had encountered outside the mine. The disciples who had dug up the magnetite had not been used up yet, and they had already found it. Their speed was a little fast. Jun Changshao narrowed his eyes and discovered that a few experts of the Lingwei True Sect were carrying a cage made of special ores. Inside was actually Jun Changshao. At this moment, the Taishan old man's heart-wrenching and furious voice rippled through the Aeon Immortal Mountain. Did we have the hatred of killing our fathers and stealing our wives in our previous lives? Chapter 1392. More than 10 core transformation realm experts from the Lingwei True Sect carried the trapped Taishan old man to the ancient immortal mountain. Master, Jun Changshao stood in front of the mountain gate and frowned. What's going on? When the Taishan old man heard this, he almost fainted. You caused trouble outside and made me take the blame. How dare you ask me what's going on? Fifth Elder, an expert standing in front of the prison, said with a gloomy expression. This guy was one of the people who passed by when we were fighting with the demonic beasts. The Fifth Elder also realized it, and was certain that he was the one who stole the magnetite mine. Kid, you're quite bold. How dare you steal the Lingwei True Sect's mine? Heh. Jun Changshao crossed his arms and said, the mine exists in a forest where no one has set foot in. Since when did it become your family's property? Gosheng did not even think of denying it. After all, the other party had come looking for him, so he must have been exposed. Everyone. The Taishan old man grabbed the railing and said, I have nothing to do with him. Can you let me go first? He was determined not to take the blame for the trouble that Gosheng caused. Master. Jun Changshao clutched his chest and said with a pained expression, Is this okay? Shut up. I'm not your master. You're not my disciple. The Taishan old man was about to go crazy from anger. It was not easy for him to get away from this guy and hide in a distant city. In the end, after a few days of good days, he became a prisoner because of him. No one would be able to accept it. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, Master and disciple are birds in the same forest. When disaster strikes, they fly separately. Kid. The Fifth Elder's gaze gradually darkened as he said, Cut the crap. Hurry up and hand over all the magnetite you dug out. Otherwise your master will. Master doesn't even acknowledge me. His life and death have nothing to do with me. Jun Changshao interrupted. You. The Taishan man was so angry that his hair almost stood on end. Because of you, I was captured. Now, you don't care about my life or death. This is really a case of a fellow townsman cheating a fellow townsman. The Fifth Elder and the others also had interesting expressions on their faces. We went all the way to Green Shadow City to capture the Taishan Wanderer, all for the sake of forcing him to submit. But in the end he fell out with Master on the spot. Wouldn't all our efforts have been in vain? The main thing was that they had caught the wrong person. If they had caught a disciple, the situation would definitely be different. Everyone. The Taishan old man said sorrowfully, From today onwards, I will sever all ties with this unfilial disciple. If you have any grudges, you can go find him. Can you let me go first? Humph. The Fifth Elder sneered. Do you think that's possible? Master. Jun Changshao couldn't control his emotions and said loudly, If you really want to cut ties with your disciple, then I'll. He suddenly sat down, picked up a watermelon and said, Start eating melons. The Taishan old man almost spat out blood on the spot. However, he was someone who had experienced great storms after all. He understood the other party's meaning, so he hurriedly said, How about I cut ties with you? Jun Changshao stood up and said, If Master is in trouble, your disciple will definitely save you. The Taishan old man understood. This guy wanted him to personally admit that they were master and disciple. No. I was tricked so badly before I became his master. If I really became his master, wouldn't I have to carry a big pot every day when I go out? Master. Jun Changshao said loudly, Make your choice. He was actually quite grateful that Lingwei True Sect had captured the Taishan Wanderer, because he could use this opportunity to establish a master-disciple relationship. Moreover, the sect lacked such a high-tech talent. The Fifth Elder said, Whether you are master and disciple or not, you must hand over the magnetite you stole. Otherwise, the sect of all times will become an ancient sect. You talk big. Jun Changshao hooked his finger and said, Come here if you can. Because the entire sect was protected by the Purple Night Celestial Formation, Gosheng did not panic. Instead, he even wanted to dance. He did not panic. The Taishan old man panicked. Now, he was still considering whether to admit their master-disciple relationship or not. In fact, the key to his dilemma was whether the other party had the ability to save him, even if he admitted their master-disciple relationship. How about this? Jun Changshao said, I'll save you, and the money I owe will be written off. The Taishan old man roared, I'm in this state all because of you. It's only right that you save me. As for the money I owe, not a cent less. Spittle flew everywhere when he said the last few words. This meant that he could accept death calmly, but he could not accept not paying back the money he owed. Either admit our master-disciple relationship, or write off the money you owe. Master, make your choice, Jun Changshao said seriously. The fifth elder, and the others were a little confused. They roughly understood that this guy owed their master money, and did not intend to pay it back. This was a little shameless. Okay. The Taishan old man made his choice and said loudly, We are master and disciple. I can take the blame, but I can't not pay back the money. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the black and white Rakshasa flew out in a spiral and hovered in front of the Lingwei True Sect powerhouse. Their sixth transformation core cultivation was fully unleashed. Master, Jun Changshao said with a serious face, with me here, no one can hurt you. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As soon as he said that, the black and white Rakshasa gathered all kinds of energy and rushed over. When the special effects reached the extreme, the space was gradually distorted by the shock. The two had already been ordered to be ready to save him at any time. Stop! The fifth elder's face changed drastically. He hurriedly ordered his companions to keep an eye on the Taishan cultivator. However, as soon as he spoke, the line of defense was completely torn apart, and the captured person was taken away together with the prison. Clang! On the training field of the sect of all times, the prison made of special or floated down. Whoosh! Whoosh! The black and white Rakshasa didn't stop at all. They rushed out again in a spiral, and fought with more than 10 Lingwei True Sect powerhouses. Boom! Boom! Whoosh! Whoosh! All kinds of light effects and special effects exploded outside the sect. The remaining energy came crashing down like a monstrous wave, but it was all resolved by the hidden purple cloud constellation array. The Lingwei True Sect's martial artists were the same as when they fought the demon beasts. The black and white Rakshasa had no problem fighting together. Therefore, Jun Changshao walked to the training field and took out the green dragon crescent blade, saying, Master, I've wronged you. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere, but it didn't move. Jun Changshao raised the green dragon crescent blade again. After a dozen slashes, not only did the prison not break, but it didn't even leave a mark. He broke down and said, Is it so hard? The Taishan old man said, This is made of 9-star steel stone. Unless it's opened with a key, it can't be broken by external forces. I see. Jun Changshao turned his head and said, Guardians snatched the key. At this point, he stopped talking because the Lingwei True Sect's powerhouses realized that the black and white Rakshasa were very strong. They didn't dare to fight too much and ran away. Jun Changshao said awkwardly. Master, I'm afraid you'll have to stay in the prison for a while. Plop. The Taishan old man collapsed in the prison. After a while, he held his head and said, Are you sent by the heavens to punish me? Chapter 1393. It was not that the spirit micro true sect was pulling him down, but that the black and white Rakshasa were too strong. After a few rounds of battle, they realized that the situation was not good and ran away without saying a word. Of course, they would not let it go just like that. After all, it involved 1 billion magnetite. Besides, since they already knew who stole it, they could not run away. There was still a long way to go. Let's meet again. As soon as the spirit micro true sect people left, the Taishan elder collapsed. You can abandon the cage made of 9-star steel stone. But, before you leave, can you let me out first? Don't worry, master. Jun Changshao summoned all kinds of equipment and said with a serious gaze, Even if it's Mount Hua that binds you, I will still split it open. In ancient times, Chen Xiang saved his mother. Today Go Sheng saved his master. It was really touching. Boom. Boom. Jun Changshao held Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's Sword, 9 Heavens 10 Earth Sky Tyrant Spear, and other weapons. It could be said that a kitchen knife was cutting wires, sparks were flying, but he could not break the cage. Patriarch. Fan Yezi studied it carefully and said with a serious expression, the material of this thing is very strong. It can't be broken without absolute strength unless what? Use the purest flames to smelt it. Understood. Jun Changshao waved his hand, and the fire spirit appeared out of thin air. He said, little flame, smelt this cage for me. Father, do you want to smelt the old man inside as well? It was not until then that Go Leftover realized that Mr. Taixian would be affected if he melted the cage, so he asked, Master, can you handle it? Nonsense. Who can withstand this? It was good to smelt the cage with the fire spirit, but because the Taixian elder was locked inside, it was very difficult to implement, so Jun Changshao rejected it. Old fan, is there any other way? If you don't use flames to smelt it, then you can only find the key. Sigh. Jun Changshao sighed and said, I'll have to trouble Master to stay in the cage for a while. I'll find a way to get the key. Disciples, listen up. Come and pay your respects to your Grandmaster. The Master's master was the Master's master. The Master's senior brothers and sisters were the Uncle Masters, and the junior brothers and sisters were the Uncle Masters. Reader, do you need science knowledge? Who are you looking down on? Under Jun Changshao's call, the Taixian elder, but because he was locked in the cage, the scene was a little bit funny. Greetings, Master. Greetings, Master. After all the inner and outer sect disciples had paid their respects, the core disciples stepped forward to pay their respects. Among them, Yi Xingchen's expression was the most spectacular. When he first came to the upper realm, he saw old man Taixian from afar, and was shocked by his sage-like aura. However, the second time they met, old man Taixian was locked in a cage. The contrast was too huge. Master. Jun Changshao also took the initiative to introduce. This is Yi Xingchen. He obtained the Taixian Sutra that you created. If you have time, you can teach him personally. Yi Xingchen was overjoyed. That's right, this person was the creator of the Taixian Sutra. His understanding of the heart technique must be stronger than Yi Taishuan's. If he could get more professional guidance, he might have a big breakthrough. The Taixian elder said impatiently, this heart technique is extraordinary in the lower realm, but it's common in the upper realm. There's nothing to teach. Yi Xingchen, the Taixian Sutra was created in the lower realm. Now that it was in the upper realm with a different system, its value must be limited. What about the Taixian ice heart technique? Lu Qianqian asked. The Taixian elder looked carefully and said in surprise, little girl, you have the Taixian ice heart physique? Yes. This is the perfect physique to cultivate the Taixian ice heart technique. You should have reached the level of heart like still water by now, right? No. The Taixian elder was stunned. Her heart technique and physique were excellent, but she had not reached this level. It was a little strange. The so-called heart like still water is to control your 7 emotions and 6 desires, to be truly unperturbed. If you can't reach this level, there's only one possibility. The Taixian elder said telepathically, child, you've fallen in love with him. Lu Qianqian was silent. She turned and left. Her heart did not waver at all, as if she knew this would be the result. Jun Changshao did not know that the Taixian elder was communicating with Lu Qianqian through telepathy. When he saw her suddenly turn and leave, he quickly mediated. Master, my disciple cultivated the ice attribute and became stupid. Please don't take it to heart. I won't. The Taixian elder said. This girl's physique is outstanding in the upper realm. If she has the guidance of a master, her future is immeasurable. Oh, Jun Changshao's interest was piqued. He said, Qingyang Xiaoma, come here and let your grandmaster take a look. Yes. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma came over and bowed. Although the Taixian elder was locked in a cage, it did not prevent him from judging a person's potential. He said affirmatively, your disciples have good potential. If they can cultivate in a higher sect, they'll definitely stand out in the future. Jun Changxiao was a little unhappy. Does being in the sect of all times hinder their development? Then, Xiao Ziji and the others continued to step forward and bow. The Taishan elder could not help but think, the disciples he recruited are all good. This legend of the falling star continent would never have thought that apart from a small number of core disciples, most of them were very ordinary. For example, Su Xiaomo, Li Fei, and the others could achieve what they had today because of Jun Changxiao's training. It was undeniable that Go Sheng was not qualified to be a patriarch. All he thought about was how to be a hands-off shopkeeper, and how to complete missions, and travel the world with his beloved. However, he was really good to his disciples. He gave them all kinds of resources, pills, and equipment. Selfless contributions and sacrifices were exchanged for arrogant people like Night Emperor and the Purple King to advance and retreat with the sect. In exchange, Lu Qianqian was willing to contribute martial arts. Whether it was the strongest sect of all times in the lower realm, or the current unrated sect of all times in the upper realm, under Go Sheng's leadership, the cohesion formed, and the culture and atmosphere of the sect were difficult for other forces to replicate. This was a warm and happy home. Not only was there a funny patriarch, but there was also a group of disciples with different personalities. Master, I've ordered the cafeteria to prepare a sumptuous dinner for you. If you were locked in a cage and couldn't get out, would you still be in the mood to eat? Master, you don't know, but one of the characteristics of the sect of all times is that we're excellent in terms of food. Don't talk so much with me. Hurry up and think of a way to get the key. Night came. The Taishan elder was carried into the cafeteria. Before he went in, he looked like he was about to collapse. As his freedom was restricted, he was not in the mood to eat at all. After he came out, he wiped the oil stains on his mouth and exclaimed, "It's simply delicious." The Taishan elder was placed in a large courtyard on Dragon Pine Peak. As his movements were restricted, Jun Changxiao not only assigned him 8 disciples, but also installed a few handrails on the cage. In an instant, it became a palanquin with 8 people. Patriarch, the Black Rakshasa said worriedly, the Lingwei True sect will definitely not let this go. I'm afraid that soon, our sect of all times will be in big trouble. Smack! Jun Changxiao placed the pocket-sized ancient warship on the table and cupped his hands. They can bully my Taishan master, but they dare to bully my ancient master? Chapter 1394. Jun Changxiao was not afraid of Lingwei True sect because he still had a trump card, which was his identity as Jimren Tonggu's disciple. Everyone knew that Go Sheng was very shameless. If he was really forced into a corner, it would be normal for him to use his other master to intimidate the true level sections. The Black Rakshasa immediately relaxed. If Lingwei True sect knew that his little brother was Jimren Tonggu's disciple, not only would they not dare to offend him, they might even personally come to apologize. If one wanted to survive in the upper realm, connections were very important. The happiest of the Taishan old man's arrival at the sect of all times were Jin Dejuan and Shengguan Xinyao. After all, the former had an excellent understanding of Qimen Duanjia, so he humbly came to ask for advice almost every day. Sigh. One day, Jun Changxiao walked in with a sigh. 1 black and 2 black placed the wine and dishes neatly on the table. The aroma of the wine and dishes immediately filled the entire room. The Taishan old man boasted that he had good self-control. But when he recalled the food he had just eaten, he could not help but salivate. He glared and said, "Are you deliberately tempting me by putting the wine and dishes so far away?" "Master," Jun Changxiao said bitterly, "my sect has been established for many years, but it still lacks a grand elder." The Taishan old man immediately understood that this guy wanted to rope him in. "You little brat," he scolded. "Don't push your luck." He was already helpless when he was forced to admit that they were master and disciple. If he joined the sect of all times, he would be a scapegoat every day. Jun Changxiao poured the wine and said, "My disciple cultivated the heart technique created by the master, so it's considered an opportunity. Why don't you join the sect of all times and become a grand elder and enjoy the highest standard of treatment?" The sect now have positions such as hall master, elders, and protectors. The only thing they lacked was a Grand Elder. If he tricked him into joining, his foundation would immediately improve. Moreover, the Taishan old man was proficient in Chiman Duanjia and was his master. Not only was he suitable for this position, but he was also of a similar generation. Of course, Jun Changshao added, if Shizhuan is willing to be the Grand Elder, you can still live a carefree life. All the internal affairs of the sect will be handled by me. The Taishan old man immediately refused. Not interested. He didn't dare to have too much contact with this kind of troublemaker, who first provoked the Xian level, and then the truth level. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Forget it then. Jun Changshao did not insist. He began to eat and drink. The aroma of the dishes and wine immediately became stronger. Gulp. The Taishan old man sat in the cell and watched him eat and drink alone. He swallowed his saliva frequently, and finally, he couldn't help but completely seal off his sense of smell. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Jun Changshao came over and took out the Chiman Duanjia Breaking Formations chapter. He turned to the first page and said, Shizhuan, this is a secret array book left by an ancestor of my sect. Do you want to take a look? The Taishan old man knew this guy was playing tricks again. He didn't intend to read it, but because he was extremely obsessed with arrays, he subconsciously glanced at it, and then was attracted by the recorded content. Oh my God! There was a detailed method to break formations written on it. There were many concepts that even he hadn't thought of. Turn the page. Swish. Jun Changshao directly closed the secret book and said, I won't disturb Shizhuan's rest. Then he turned and left. Brat! The Taishan old man hurriedly shouted. Come back, let me read another page. When Gosheng studied the Breaking Formations chapter in the 9th layer of Hell, he felt it was very magical. As an expert in this field, it was naturally easy to be taken in. Shizhuan, Jun Changshao said, if you become a Grand Elder, you can read the secret manual at will. The expression on the Taishan old man's face changed again and again. In the end he cursed. You bastard, will you only stop when I'm dead? Jun Changshao stopped and said seriously, Shizhuan, please believe me. Joining the sect of all times will benefit you. The system ridiculed. The premise is that you're good at taking the blame. Damn it. After a long internal struggle, the Taishan old man said, let's make it clear. I won't interfere in the sect's affairs. Just be a Grand Elder with peace of mind. Okay. Seeing that he agreed, Jun Changshao immediately took out the entry form and went through the procedures until he stamped it with the sect's seal. Then he grinned and said, Shizhuan, we're now in the same sect. Seeing the smile on this guy's face, the Taishan old man's heart collapsed and he said, not only am I imprisoned in a cage, I've also boarded his pirate ship. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and show me that secret manual. All right, prepare some wine and dishes. The Taishan old man really didn't want to become a Grand Elder of the sect of all times. But he couldn't resist Jun Changshao's coaxing and pestering. In the end, he had to compromise. Until he ate wine and dishes while studying the Chiman Duanjia formation breaking chapter. There was only one word that could describe it in his heart. And that was of course. The sect of all times wouldn't keep idle people. Therefore, the frequency of Elder Zhen and Shengguan Xinyao coming to ask for advice increased. Occasionally, Jun Changshao would also bring wine and dishes over. After 3 rounds of wine, he shamelessly said, Shizhuan, can the bamboo mountain #1 that you're researching be mass-produced? A mecha made of bamboo, with the support of various formations, could explode with powerful combat power. Naturally, he wanted to get his hands on the blueprint and mass-produce it to equip the sect's disciples. Don't think too much. The Taishan old man rolled his eyes and said, even if this thing can be mass-produced, it can't be powered by enough energy. The bamboo mountain #1 was powerful, but it also consumed a lot of energy. Only super rich people could afford to use it. Improve it, Jun Changshao said. With Shizhuan's understanding of formations, it should be possible to reduce the energy consumption while preserving the combat power. I also want to reduce the energy consumption, but my strength doesn't allow it. The Taishan old man said helplessly. Ever since he created the bamboo mountain #1, He had always been thinking of ways to reduce the energy consumption, but he didn't make any substantial progress. Unless what? The Taishan old man pointed to the formation secret book next to him and said, "Since the person who created this book left the formation breaking chapter, there might be a formation chapter. If I'm lucky enough to read it, I might be able to get new ideas from it." The content recorded in the formation breaking chapter of Chimen Duanjia shocked him. He also deeply understood that his research on formations was still lacking. Jun Changshao fell into silence. This secret book created by the Chimen formation god was refreshed in the shop. Even if there were other types, it might not be able to be refreshed. The system said, "There's a free refresh every month. As long as the host is willing to work hard, you might be able to get it." Get lost. Jun Changshao didn't want to refresh, but after becoming a VIP user of the shop, he rarely took the initiative to refresh. First, the contribution points were not much. Second, if he didn't buy good things, it would definitely be replaced. The system said in a bad mood. Worrying about personal gains and losses is not the host's character. Shizhuan, Jun Changshao said. Elder Zhen and Xinyao also have good attainments in formations. Why don't you guys study it together? After all, 3 stooges are better than 1 Zhuge Liang. Who is Zhuge Liang? This is an ancestor in my sect That's right. This formation-breaking chapter of Chimen Duanjia was created by him. He is called the Chimen formation god. Chapter 1395. The sect of all times had only been established for a short time, and lacked the heritage of an ancient sect, but it could be packaged with the ancients. As a result, Zhuge Liang, who had studied Chimen Duanjia, instantly transformed into a sect ancestor under Jun Changshao's casual words, and even the formation-breaking chapter was transferred to him. The Taishan old man hurriedly said, "Since it is the ancestor of the sect, did he leave behind any formation books?" Jun Changshao scratched his head and explained, "Zhuge Liang likes to travel around like master, except for a few secret formation books. Most of them are scattered outside." "That's a pity." A helpless expression appeared on the face of the Taishan old man. Obviously, he was really fooled by Gosheng. "Master," Jun Changshao said, "in life there are bound to be many hardships. What we can do is to rely on ourselves to resolve them, and not pray for the help of our ancestors." Bah! The system could not stand it and said, "A cheater still has the nerve to talk about great principles." "That's right," the Taishan old man said seriously. "If there is trouble, then go and conquer it. That is what a real man should do." That day, Jun Changshao called Elder Zhen and Shengguan Xinyao over, and told them to cooperate with Master to improve Bamboo Mountain No. 1. Therefore, the 3 of them began to focus on the study of the mecha array. It could be said that they were so focused that they forgot to eat and sleep. "Grandmaster, why do you have to set up so many formations on a bamboo? Can't you simplify it?" "Grandmaster, if we change the line of defense, what will happen?" "Grandmaster, if we divide out a few more inlaid formations, and activate them at the same time when they are operating, will it reduce the consumption?" After teaching for a few days, Shengguan Xinyao gradually understood the formation system of Bamboo Mountain No. 1, and began to ask frequently. The Taishan old man's head was about to explode. However, there were a lot of questions. Thinking about it carefully, it was indeed reasonable. If he thought about it from a different perspective and arranged it, maybe there would be a different performance? The old man from Taishan grasped the key points from Shengguan Xinyao's many questions, and began to improve the array system. A few days later, he had made great progress. The energy consumption was really reduced. There were also some flaws. In a situation where the energy consumption was reduced, the combat power was weakened. AI. The Taishan elder sat cross-legged in the cage and shook his head. Although the energy consumption has been greatly reduced, its power is only comparable to that of a martial emperor. Jun Changshao said, "Honorable master, don't be discouraged. At the very least, you have taken a step forward. If you continue researching, you might be able to reach the revolving core realm." Gosheng was not greedy. If Bamboo Mountain number 1 could control the energy source, it would already be good enough for it to possess the strength of a first transition. After all, this level would allow it to establish itself in the upper realm. Jun Changshao did not participate in the research of mecha. Instead, he focused his attention on the cultivation of medicinal herbs. As for the disciples, they also absorbed magnetite day and night to improve themselves. Their cultivation and strength could be said to have advanced by leaps and bounds. In merely half a month, all of them had advanced from Wu Huang to half-saint. Ding Xingwang, Gongsun Haohan, and the other elders were the first to enter the void-piercing realm. As they were in the upper realm, there were more profound laws of heaven and earth. Therefore, the process of entering this realm was as easy as Wuzong's My Wu Huang. To put it bluntly, as long as the martial arts resources could keep up, even entering the upper realm would be a piece of cake. Jun Changshao was not wild with joy because of the increase in the overall strength of the sect, because this bit of combat power was still too far away from the Xian sects with a real foundation. When the average strength of the disciples reached the revolving core realm, then they would be truly awesome and could compete with the various sects in the upper realm. With the 200 million magnetite, Jun Changshao began to purchase extravagantly. Under the management of Yuan Gongzi, batch after batch of low-cost high-quality medicinal herbs were transported over. Elder Wei continued to increase the scale of the cultivation. Page was also constantly opening up new medicinal fields. In terms of medicinal pills, the monthly production rate increased rapidly. After everything was arranged, Jun Changshao opened the Spirit Beast Hall and thought to himself, I still have to equip a few core disciples with contracted beasts first. After Li Qingyang obtained the Thunder Caltrip beast, his cultivation speed had obviously increased. Ding! Beginning incubation. Ding! The Ice Phoenix egg has successfully hatched. It will automatically sign a contract with disciple Lu Qianqian. Ding! The Black Turtle egg has successfully hatched. It will automatically sign a contract with disciple Xiao Ziji. Ding! The Divine Walker egg has successfully hatched. It will automatically sign a contract with disciple Su Xiaoma. Jun Changshao spent 30 million magnetite in one go and hatched 3 contracted beasts from the Spirit Beast Hall. He then matched them with the corresponding disciples according to their attributes. Holy shit! Su Xiaoma froze on the spot. The patriarch called him over and said that he had something to give him. In the end, it was a demon beast that looked like a tiger or leopard. It even had a pair of snow-white wings that had not spread out. This is a divine walker beast. Jun Changshao said. After you raise it to adulthood, it can fly. It will be your contract beast from now on. Really? The excitement in Su Xiaoma's heart was indescribable. When he brought the contract beast back, he realized that the other party's breathing could make him stronger. He directly hugged it and kissed it on the forehead. Xiao Ziji also obtained a contract beast, but it was completely different from Su Xiaoma's speed type. Because its shape was like a turtle, its speed was maddeningly slow. However, its defense was extremely strong. Bing Zhongtian, looking at the bird beast that seemed to be made of crystal clear ice floating in front of her, Lu Qianqian said in disbelief, My contract beast? That's right. Jun Changshao said. It's called the Ice Phoenix beast. It's an extremely rare ice attribute beast. It can help you cultivate and improve your understanding of the ice attribute. Even if he didn't say it, Lu Qianqian had already felt it, because they had already established a contract. After a moment of silence, she said, Thank you, Patriarch. Although her expression and tone were cold, it was mixed with a touch of human kindness. You have an exclusive heavenly weapon and a contract beast. You have to work hard to cultivate and become stronger. Don't let me down, Jun Changshao said. Okay. Lu Qianqian hummed in response. Perhaps because of the environment, the atmosphere was always cold and awkward. So Jun Changshao didn't stay long and left the Ninth Heaven secret realm to return to his residence. After Lu Qianqian, Xiao Ziji, and Su Xiaoma obtained contract beasts, the news immediately spread in the sect, causing the disciples to discuss and envy. Patriarch. On this day, Jun Changshao had just walked out of the courtyard and was about to go to the medicine field for a routine inspection when he saw Yi Xingqian blocking his way and said, "I also want a contract beast. Don't you already have an eagle? I don't mind having more." Yi Xingqian knew from Xiao Ziji that the contract beast given by the patriarch could help improve cultivation, so he was very tempted. Anyway, when he drank too much, he often went to the livestock pen, and Night Emperor's identity was exposed. He might as well be shameless and ask for it. You can say that Anyo changed, but this change was all to obtain more martial arts resources from Jun Changshao, so that he could become stronger in a short time and find that woman to take revenge. "Okay," Jun Changshao said. "I happen to have a rare beast that is suitable for you." Ding. Incubation begins. Ding. Panhu egg hatched successfully. It will automatically sign a contract with disciple Yi Xingqian. Woof woof woof. In an instant, a puppy that looked like a husky wagged its tail and walked around Anyo, making him petrified. Chapter 1396. The Divine Walker looked like a tiger, or a leopard with a pair of wings. Although it was small, it was still quite handsome. The black tortoise looked clumsy, but at least it gave off a strong aura that made people feel safe. The ice phoenix was even more so. Among the rare beasts that were hatched, it was definitely the most beautiful one. Yi Xingqian did not have any requirements for the appearance of his contracted beasts, as long as they could help him improve his cultivation. However, when Jun Changshao gave him a husky-like dog, he was stunned. Others were either tigers or leopards, turtles or phoenixes. Why was he given a dog? And it looked so silly. "Xingqian," Jun Changshao said seriously, "although this little guy looks silly, it can provide you with great combat power if you train it well." He did not know that the Panhu beast would be in the form of a husky, but according to the introduction, this beast would have great combat power when it reached adulthood. It was very suitable for Yi Xingqian, who was the main attacker. "Patriarch," Anyo said, "can I get another one? Even an alpha wolf will do." "No, you can't." Jun Changshao patted him on the shoulder and said, "Just make do with it. Besides, you have a condor." Yi Xingqian could only accept the reality. He then returned to his place with the Panhu beast. When he felt that his strength had increased slightly, he was relieved and said, "Amazing. When I have more money, I'll give Li Fei and He Wudi a contracted beast each." Jun Changshao thought as he went to the herbal field. Outside, just as the ice phoenix egg hatched, the dozens of beautiful and cold women flying in the sky suddenly stopped. One of them exclaimed, "Big sister, the egg that has been nurtured in the ice pond for thousands of years has hatched." "Damn it," the leader of the group said angrily. "Damn thief, he stole our most precious egg when it was about to hatch. Can you pinpoint its location?" When the egg hatched, there was an aura, but it seemed to be suppressed by some kind of power. "We can't pinpoint its location." "Find it." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The ladies turned into streams of light and sped up their search. They were members of the Ice Phoenix clan. This time, they were in the upper realm to find the stolen Ice Phoenix egg. At the same time, in another area, hundreds of Divine Walker clansmen were flapping their wings and flying high in the sky, their eyes flashing with anger. The reason was none other than the fact that the stolen Divine Walker egg had just hatched. The Xian Turtle clan and Panhu clan's powerhouses were also searching. In fact, these tribes would produce a lot of eggs every year, but the ones that were stolen were the most important and the most elite ones. For example, the Ice Phoenix clan's egg could be said to have been nurtured with the entire clan's strength, and it had even been decided internally to be the next patriarch of the clan. In the end, it was actually stolen on the eve of its birth. Who would be able to stand it? Therefore, even if he had to turn the entire world upside down, he had to find it. This was an exception. In fact, all the major clans in the upper realm were missing eggs. It was only because they had not been hatched that they could not accurately determine their locations. They had their own secret methods and magical powers that could locate the approximate location of the egg. They did not come because the Sect of all times had activated the Purple Cloud Constellation Array 24 hours a day, blocking the connection between them. In other words, as long as Jun Changshao removed the array, as long as the signal flew out, and was captured by the major clans, there would be a spectacular show of the Aeon Immortal Mountain. Of course, there was another possibility of being exposed. That was, Li Qingyang walked into the main hall and asked, Sect Master, can this disciple bring my contracted beast out for training? Reader, it's coming, it's coming. Jun Changxiao said, the Lingwei True Sect will definitely come looking for trouble. Don't go out for the time being to avoid being targeted. He almost forgot that this guy had offended a truth-level sect. Yes, Li Qingyang was more steady. However, his inquiry had given Jun Changxiao a reminder, and he immediately ordered his disciples not to go out for a period of time. This precaution was right, because the Lingwei True Sect was already on their way. It involved more than 1 billion mystic stones, which was not a small amount. Therefore, the sect master personally brought people over, and there were more than 10 sixth transformation core realm cultivators among them. Whoosh, whoosh. In the sky, many experts of the Lingwei True Sect dragged streams of light as they moved rapidly, alarming many factions and itinerant cultivators. What's going on? The leader who flew over just now seems to be the patriarch of the Lingwei True Sect. They seem to be heading to the Aeon Immortal Mountain. I heard that some time ago, the 5th elder of the Lingwei True Sect brought people to the sect of all times. Later on, he ran away dejectedly. Could it be that the patriarch is going there personally to cause trouble? Let's go. Let's go watch the show. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As long as the Lingwei True Sect passed by the city in a high-profile manner, they would definitely attract many people to follow them. For a time, on the way to the Aeon Immortal Mountain, cultivators flying with supreme treasures could be seen everywhere. On a mountain peak shrouded in clouds, Jinren Tonggu suddenly opened his eyes and said solemnly, the disciple I just recruited seems to have encountered trouble. Swish. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared on the spot. Patriarch. One day, the Black Rakshasa sent a voice transmission. The people from the Lingwei True Sect are here. Oh. Jun Changxiao, who was cultivating, opened his eyes and muttered to himself. As expected, they still aren't willing to give up. Tidying up his clothes, he strode out of Dragon Head Peak. Just as he stopped outside the main hall, he saw streaks of light speeding over from outside the Aeon Immortal Mountain. After that, they hovered in midair aggressively, emitting an extremely unfriendly aura. Heh, Jun Changxiao said. There are quite a few of them. You're the patriarch of the sect of all times? Mei Xian, the patriarch of the Lingwei True Sect, said coldly. That's right. Jun Changxiao placed his hands behind his back and said, You are? The patriarch of the Lingwei True Sect, Mei Xian said indifferently. No wonder you're so cool. So you're the master of a truth-level sect. Jun Changxiao cupped his hands and said, Sorry for the disrespect. Swish, swish. At this moment, the various core transformation realm experts who had come to watch the show flew over from afar and stopped in a distant area. They were just short of taking out watermelons to eat. Mei Xian said coldly, Jun Patriarch snatched an urvane from my sect that contains at least 1 billion magnetite. He has to give us an explanation, right? Fuck. The onlookers widened their eyes. A magnetite or vein that contained 1 billion magnetite was definitely considered a medium-sized urvane. This sect that had just arrived actually dared to snatch it from the hands of the Lingwei True Sect. No wonder the patriarch brought people over. Ha ha ha. Jun Changxiao laughed loudly and said, Natural treasures are obtained by fate. My sect of all times dug it out first. Why should we give an explanation? Moreover, urvanes are unearthed every moment in the world. Don't tell me your sect has to go to other sects every day to ask for them? Mei Xian's expression gradually darkened. He, the truth-level patriarch, had personally come, but this guy still did not seem to intend to hand it over. Brat, Mei Xian said coldly. Do you think you can do whatever you want in the upper realm, just because you have the support of the Taishian loose cultivators? The Taishian old man trapped in the cage had a wonderful expression. I can't support this guy. I'll give you 15 minutes to consider. If you don't return the magnetite you stole, the sect of all times will be removed from the upper realm today, Mei Xian said indifferently. Whoosh whoosh, whoosh whoosh whoosh. The cultivation of more than 10 sixth transformation core transformation realm experts erupted at the same time, forming a powerful pressure that instantly enveloped the entire Aeon Immortal Mountain. The invisible purple firmament constellation formation immediately appeared. The system said, "The other party is a little strong. I'm afraid the formation won't be able to withstand it." TSK, Jun Changshao sneered. Then, he sat on the chair that Xiao Ziji had placed and casually took out the ancient warship. He said, "I originally wanted to get along with you guys as an ordinary person, but in exchange, I'm being bullied. I'm not pretending anymore. I'll lay my cards on the table." The experts of the Lingwei True Sect looked over and saw that the guy was holding an exquisite little boat in his hands. The corners of their mouths curled up in disdain. However, when they saw the words engraved on it, their muscles immediately froze. They exclaimed in unison, "Ancient warship!" Swoosh! Jun Changshao stood up at some point. He stepped on the chair with one foot and supported his head with his right hand. He said in a melancholic manner, "That's right. I'm the genuine, honest disciple of Jinren Tonggu." Whoosh whoosh. Black hair and clothes fluttered in the wind. Su Xiaoma and Xiao Ziji squatted on the left and right sides, waving their fans with all their might, setting off the patriarch's aura to the extreme. Damn! This guy is actually Jinren Tonggu's personal disciple. Big news! Big news! All of the spectating martial artists knew that Taoist Tonggu had once said that anyone who obtained the ancient warship would be his direct disciple. Stunned. Shocked. Stunned. Mei Xian also did not expect that Jun Changshao would take out Jinren Tonggu's ancient warship. However, he was still an experienced patriarch. He snorted coldly and said, "Senior Tonggu's ancient warship was placed in the lower realm battlefield by chance. How could you have obtained it? In my opinion, it's probably a fake." The black and white Rakshasa in front of the hall shook their heads. Due to the array, the thick aura of the ancient warship was blocked. The two expressed their understanding that it was a fake. "Kid," an elder of the Lingwei True Sect said coldly, "You've got guts. You actually dared to pretend to be Senior Tonggu's disciple." Jun Changshao was depressed. If it was in the past, he might have felt a little guilty. After all, he was really pretending. However, now that he had met Jinren Tonggu, and even taken him in as a disciple, why would they not believe him? The system said, "Let's temporarily remove the array, and let them feel the aura. They will know if the ancient warship is real or not." That's the only way. Jun Changshao did not want to waste time arguing with the Lingwei True Sect. If he could use this treasure to prove his identity as Jinren Tonggu's personal disciple, it would be best for them to immediately turn from ferocious to subservient. "It's here. It's finally here." As if sensing that the array was about to be opened, the experts of various races who were searching in different directions pricked up their ears and waited for various signals to be transmitted. They wanted to determine where the stolen egg was hidden as soon as possible. Huff! Jun Changshao exhaled. However, just as he was about to remove the purple firmament constellation array, a thick aura suddenly pressed down from above, directly paralyzing the array. Whoosh whoosh! At the same time, an aura that contained supreme mysteries instantly enveloped the entire Aeon Immortal Mountain. Jun Changshao's eyes widened. This was because a slightly vicissitude and unfathomable figure appeared in his field of vision. Disciple, the air waves that gathered around him dissipated, and the immortal-like Jinren Tonggu gradually appeared. He said in a loud voice, "Master is here." Whoosh! Whoosh! The various signals sealed in the sect flew out at the speed of a rocket, because the array had failed. Then, they were quickly captured by the experts of various races. Found it. It's in the southeast area. Phoenix Perch Immortal Mountain. Let's go. Let's go. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, the experts of various races who were searching for the egg from all over the upper realm rushed toward the Aeon Immortal Mountain like locusts. Oh no! In the main hall of the Realm Hall, an elder exclaimed, "The various races are collectively heading toward the southeast area. I'm afraid something big is about to happen." In the magnificent palace, a hunchbacked elder hurried over and said, "Master, the various major races are heading toward the southeast area. They should be heading toward Phoenix Perch Immortal Mountain. As expected, Empress Ling Yao was not surprised. The major races are restless. Let's go. Let's go to Phoenix Perch Immortal Mountain to watch the show. The camera returned to the Sect of all times. When Jimren Tonggu said, "Master is here," he sensed a lot of special energy flying out. However, he did not take it to heart. Instead, he looked at the shocked Mei Xian and said calmly, "Who gave you the guts to bully my disciple?" "Master." Jun Changshao was so moved that he almost cried. He had originally planned to use his identity to intimidate the Lingwei True Sect. He did not expect that the main body would suddenly appear. And from the aura he emitted, it was obvious that he was unhappy that he was being bullied. "Taishian old man. Look, this is a true master-disciple relationship. This is the responsibility of a master." Needless to say, Jimren Tonggu's sudden appearance was indeed a strong visual impact. The experts of the Lingwei True Sect and the spectators were so oppressed by his aura that they could not breathe. They were all thinking in horror, that guy is really Senior Tonggu's disciple. Chapter 1397. Jimren Tonggu appeared with his own BGM, so just the release of his aura was enough to make the sixth transformation revolving core cultivators sweat profusely. In the end, they could not take it and fell from the sky. The onlookers who rode on their treasures or flew on their own were further away, so they suffered less pressure. However, they still fell to the ground one after another out of respect. In the upper realm, there were not many martial artists who were qualified to stand at a higher level than Jimren Tonggu. Gulp. Mei Xian swallowed his saliva with difficulty. His legs trembled violently, and the sweat that flowed out formed a line. Was the spirit micro true Sect strong? Strictly speaking, it belonged to the middle and low-end level in the upper realm. There were stronger Taoist and immortal levels. Then, what about Jimren Tonggu? Although he did not join a sect, and did not represent any force, he was definitely at the top level in terms of realm and status. One was the middle and low end, while the other was the top. One could imagine how big the gap between them was. What was worse was that Jimren Tonggu came aggressively. Obviously, he could not tolerate anyone bullying his disciple. "Master." Jun Changshao took the opportunity to light a fire and said, "I dug up an unmined magnetite vein near the Demon King's cave. The spirit micro true sect insisted that I rob them. Please be the judge." "I see." Jimren Tonggu immediately understood the reason, but he was puzzled. This trouble isn't that big. He had a premonition that his disciple would be in danger, so he quickly came to support him. In the end, he was disappointed. Sigh. Was he too eager to love his disciple? Taoist Tonggu shook his head and said coldly, "Or veins appear almost every once in a while in the upper realm. All the major sects and powers obtain them based on their own strength. Why is it that when it comes to my disciple, it becomes a robbery?" This sentence was unanimously approved by the onlookers. When veins appeared, it was normal for major forces to fight over them. Usually, it would end after the ownership was determined. The sect of all times dug up the veins first. Logically speaking, the matter was over. The spirit micro true sect did not get it because of him. Now that they were shamelessly asking for it, it was obvious that they were bullying him. Senior Tonggu. Mei Xian was on the verge of tears. "Junior didn't know that Jun Patriarch was your disciple. Please forgive me for my previous offense." He was terrified. Actually, as long as the authenticity of the ancient worship was confirmed, he would also be terrified. But this time he was even more terrified. This was because Jimren Tonggu himself had personally come to support his disciple. Who could stand this? "Master," Jun Changshao said aggrievedly. "He even said he wanted to destroy the sect. Why do I feel so good with a golden thigh around? Why do I feel so comfortable?" No, Mei Xian hurriedly said. "I was just joking with Jun Patriarch." Jimren Tonggu frowned and said, "Don't you think it's too much to joke about destroying other people's sects?" Hoo. An even more powerful aura pressed down on Mei Xian, causing his face to turn red. He could feel the aura of death. Jimren Tonggu said indifferently, "If you say something wrong, you shouldn't use the excuse of a joke to brush it off. Instead, you should think of a way to make up for your mistake." Jun Changxiao was stunned. Aya, this master of mine is quite suitable. Mei Xian was naturally not a fool, so he said with difficulty. Make up. Junior will make up for it. Whoosh. The pressure instantly dissipated, allowing him to breathe normally. Disciple. Jinren Tonggu said. I'll leave it to you. Jun Changxiao cleared his throat and said arrogantly. Tell me, how do you plan to make up for it? A typical fox exploiting the tiger's might. After a short moment of consideration, Mei Xian said, Give me money. The Spirit Micro True Sect will give you money. How much? Give. This Jun is not someone who haggles over every ounce. Just give me 200 million profound stones as compensation. Ah. Mei Xian's eyes widened. The Spirit Micro True Sect could take out 200 million. But this compensation was too much. You don't agree? Jinren Tonggu said coldly. I agree. In front of a top powerhouse from the upper realm, Mei Xian really did not dare to disobey. Even if the other party wanted 500 million or a billion, he had to give it up. Jinren Tonggu said, I'll give the Spirit Micro True Sect 5 days. If you can't give me 200 million profound stones, I'll personally go and ask for it. Master, I'll give you a thumbs up. Senior Tonggu, don't worry. I'll send it over in a day or two. Mei Xian hurriedly left with his subordinates, returning much faster than when he came. After all, he had to quickly prepare 200 million to make up for it. Pei Seely, you're about to fucking kill my Spirit Micro True Sect. Mei Xian, who had nowhere to vent his anger, could only blame everything on the patriarch of the Fuqian sect. If it were not for him, why would they have a grudge with the sect of all times because of the mine? The spectators did not leave. They all locked onto Jinren Tonggu, their eyes flickering with strong worship. They were lucky enough to see such a mysterious top powerhouse today. They could definitely brag about it for hundreds of years. Master, Jun Changxiao cupped his hands and said, You came at the right time. Otherwise I would have been bullied. Jinren Tonggu said, You only need to cultivate diligently for 10 years. If you encounter any trouble, I'll help you resolve it. Master, don't worry, Jun Changxiao said solemnly. I won't disappoint you in the battle 10 years later. Jinren Tonggu nodded in satisfaction and said, I still have something to deal with. I'll. Speaking up to hear, the expression on his face suddenly froze, because out of the corner of his eye, he accidentally saw a furry demonic beast squatting behind Li Qingyang. He asked in surprise, Disciple, how did your disciple get a thunder caltrip beast? Jun Changxiao explained, I obtained it by accident when I was training outside. Jinren Tonggu frowned and said, The two are very close. Did they sign a contract? That's right, Jun Changxiao said. Jinren Tonggu's expression became interesting. He said, The thunder chestnut beast must be from the thunder chestnut race. This race values their eggs very much. I'm afraid that your disciple will get into trouble if he signs a contract with it. Jun Changxiao was a bit confused. However, Jinren Tonggu said proudly, With me here, the thunder chestnut race won't dare to make things difficult for you. Jun Changxiao was deeply moved again. He bowed and said, It's my honor to have you as my master. Don't flatter me. Jinren Tonggu said, I only have one request. Defeat Gu Hong's disciple in 10 years. The reason why he helped Jun Changxiao so much, and even came all the way here, was because of the 10-year agreement with Gu Hong Jinren. No problem. Jun Changxiao patted his chest and said, I won't let you down, master. I'm leaving. Spiritual Master Tong Gu was about to leave when his body froze on the spot. This was because he caught sight of the demonic beast that looked like a tiger or leopard behind Su Xiaoma from the corner of his eyes. He exclaimed, The Divine Walker beast of the Divine Walker clan? Hee. Jun Changxiao scratched his head and said with a smile, My disciples are quite lucky. Every time they go out for training, they always get contract beasts. He paused and then said loudly, Jinren Xingqian, let my master see your contract beasts. Yes. Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingqian called their contract beasts over. After seeing the mystic tortoise and the Panhu beast, Jinren Tonggu's expression changed from surprise to shock. Of course, he was not shocked because all the disciples of the sect of all times had contract beasts, but because these beasts came from different races, and were treated like treasures. No. These beasts are all from different races. How could they be captured and contracted so casually? While he was thinking, the sky outside the eternal immortal mountain suddenly surged with surging waves of air. From afar, one could clearly see that the energy came from all directions, pressing down with an earth-shattering momentum. Finally, it stopped above the eternal sect, spreading out in an arc, its shape like... Damn! Jun Changshao exclaimed. What a big pot! Chapter 1398. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The Aeon Immortal Mountain that had just calmed down suddenly surged with waves of air from all directions. They gradually gathered together, as if a huge pot had covered the entire sect of all times. The sky darkened. The atmosphere also became somber. The black and white Rakshasa, Old Ding, Li Qingyang, and the others all frowned. The huge amount of energy gathered in the sky was definitely not good. It's over, it's over. The Taishian elder in the cage looked through the gap and roared in his heart. This guy must have poked a hole in the sky. He, who had taken the blame for many times, instantly understood that Go Sheng must have gotten into trouble again. This time, it was earth-shattering. In fact, Jun Changshao himself did not know what was going on, but he was still unusually calm because his master was standing beside him. Yes, Zhenren Tonggu did not leave. However, when he looked up at the energy filled with all kinds of demonic energy, his expression gradually became interesting. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, streams of light seemed to cut through the void from all directions outside the Aeon Immortal Mountain. They flew over at an extremely fast speed and hung in the sky above the sect of all times. The first to appear was the Thunder Rhombus Races delegation. They sent a total of 300 to 500 people, and their bodies and eyes were filled with thunder and lightning that represented anger. The second to appear was the Divination Races delegation. The third to appear was the Xian Turtle Races delegation. The fourth to appear. When nearly 10,000 powerhouses of various races gathered in a ring, the scene was even more spectacular than the opening ceremony of the Olympics. Oh my God! Are these the major races that rarely show themselves in the world? The onlookers who did not leave stared with their eyes almost popping out. The upper realm was a world that accepted hundreds of rivers and rivers. There were humans and other races, but the latter rarely appeared. So on the surface, humans were still the dominant race. Now those powerhouses of various races who were either in their original forms or in human form stood in mid-air. The visual effect was extreme. How dare you, thief! The leader of the Thunder Rhombus Races delegation shouted angrily. How dare you steal the Thunder Rhombus Races beast eggs? As soon as he said that, the powerhouses of the other races were stunned. So it turned out that it wasn't only his clan that had lost their eggs. There were so many victims. But that was too many. To be honest, the various tribes did not communicate with each other. They only came together after receiving the signal. When they saw that they had surrounded the sect of all times, they were all quite surprised. An unknown mountain and an unknown sect suddenly put on a show where thousands of clans gathered. It was definitely not a surprise. It was definitely shocking to the upper realm. No matter what happened next, this incident was bound to be widely spread. It would definitely be at the top of the hot topics list, and it might even occupy the top spot for a long time. Jun Changshao, who was originally calm, had an expression of collapse at this moment. From the words of the expert from the Thunder Rhombus race, he instantly understood that the beast eggs in the Spirit Beast Hall were the same as the 7 profound Sunglow Remnant Scroll. Ding! The system is temporarily shut down. Fuck. Jun Changshao cursed in his heart. This fucking system is tricking me again. He understood. The beast eggs in the Spirit Beast Hall were all stolen from the various tribes. This time, they suddenly gathered above the sect of all times like the Olympics. It was obvious that they had confirmed that he was the egg thief. He was wronged. He was greatly wronged. The eggs were stolen by the system. It had nothing to do with him, Jun. It was useless to explain at this time, because no one would believe that Go Sheng was innocent. Therefore he was destined to take the blame. Zhenren Tonggu, why are you here? A powerhouse from one of the tribes recognized this top powerhouse from the human race and asked. Jinren Tonggu was silent. At this moment, 10,000 alpacas were running wildly in his heart. In fact, when he discovered the Thunder Rhombus beast, he realized that there might be trouble, but he did not take it to heart at all. Even with the addition of the Divine Walker race, he could still handle the situation. However, now that hundreds of tribes had come, it was a little too exciting. He understood. The trouble his disciple encountered did not come from the Lingwei True Sect, but from being surrounded by thousands of tribes. Jinren Tonggu finally realized what his previous premonition corresponded to. He thought to himself, is it too late for me to leave now? It was too late, because Jun Changshao said, he is my master. Oh, the powerhouses from various tribes all looked at Jinren Tonggu, their eyes flashing with anger. No wonder he dared to steal their eggs. It turned out that he had the backing of a human powerhouse. Gosheng was the one who took the blame for the stolen eggs. It was not a big problem, because he knew how to shift the blame. Whoosh, whoosh. Only the readers could see the invisible cauldrons on Jinren Tonggu's back, stacking together to form a towering mountain. It was heavy. It was so heavy that it was hard to breathe. Jinren Tonggu, the Thunder Rhombus tribe has not been involved in the world in recent years. We have always been at peace with the human race. Why did you steal our beast eggs? The powerhouse from the Thunder Rhombus tribe rebuked angrily. Humph. The powerhouse from the Divine Strider tribe snorted and said, we made an agreement back then to live in peace with each other. Now that the top powerhouse of the human race has stolen the beast eggs of various tribes, it is clear that he is violating the agreement. He is going too far. This is intolerable. The powerhouses from various tribes were filled with righteous indignation. Obviously, they were very angry about the theft of the beast eggs. Moreover, it was not difficult to tell from their words that they had already determined that the beast eggs were stolen by Jinren Tonggu, because he had the strength to do so. Master, Jun Changshao said telepathically, I leave my safety to you. Old man Tonggu almost cursed out loud. You caused such a big trouble. Why should I be the scapegoat? If the Taishian knew what he was thinking, he would definitely come out of the gap in the cage and walk up to shake hands with him. Everyone, Jinren Tonggu pointed and said, the egg was stolen by my disciple. This old man will not take the blame. Master, you. Jun Changshao clutched his chest, a pained expression on his face. He was really upset because his most trusted master had abandoned him. Forget it, forget it. Jun Changshao smiled bitterly, then puffed out his chest and said, yes, I stole the egg. It has nothing to do with you, master. He could see that the trouble this time was a bit unprecedented. The only thing he could do was not to implicate Jinren Tonggu. At worst, what should he do? Waiting online urgent. Kid. A powerhouse from the Thunder Rhombus tribe pointed at Li Qingyang and said angrily, you dared to sign a contract with the future successor of our tribe. In fact, the major tribes might not have escalated the conflict out of respect for Jinren Tonggu. They would have just taken away the stolen demon beasts and settled the matter. However, they could not tolerate the fact that a contract had been signed. It was common for ordinary demon beasts living in the upper realm to sign contracts with humans. However, it was a serious problem for the demon beasts of the major tribes to sign a contract with a human. The powerhouses of the Divine Strider tribe, Xian Turtle tribe, and other tribes also realized that their demon beasts had signed a contract with a human and were hiding behind them. They were instantly furious. This is a great humiliation. I swear I will not rest until I destroy this sect today. The tribes were furious and murderous. This is troublesome. Jun Changshao frowned. Host, don't panic. The system said, the demon beasts of these tribes have signed a life contract with their disciples. If they dare to attack, we will destroy them together. Fuck. Didn't you turn it off? How can I abandon the host when he is in danger? What is true love? This. Everyone. At this moment Jinren Tonggu, who had been silent all this time, took a step forward and stood in front of Jun Changshao. His turbid eyes flashed coldly as he said, whoever dares to touch my disciple, I will not rest until he or she is dead. Huff huff huff. The aura of the peak level of the truth-seeking realm was fully released. The entire sect of all times was instantly enveloped by a huge barrier. Master! Jun Changsha really cried. Jinren Tonggu turned his back to him and said, You are the one who did this. You have to admit it. I will not take the blame for you because I will only support you. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, a vortex formed in the sky above the sect of all times. Majestic airwaves pressed down and completely filled the martial arts arena. When everything calmed down, dozens of immortal-looking human powerhouses stood in front of Jinren Tonggu. Among them were his chess friends who had played chess with him. Oh my god! They are all reclusive big shots. Chapter 1399. Jun Changsha was a scammer. He had scammed the Taishian elder who was still trapped in a cage. Now he had scammed Jinren Tonggu and was blamed for stealing eggs by the other clans. Scapegoat? No way. I'm only responsible for supporting my disciple. Just as the other clans were about to make a move, Jinren Tonggu sent a friend to help. The 7 elders standing on the left were from the Misty Immortal Mountain. They were known as the 7 sages of the Misty Immortal Mountain and had a status that was not inferior to that of an immortal-level sect. The powerhouses on the right were from various grotto heavens and blessed lands. Although they were only rogue cultivators, they were very strong. As for Jinren Tonggu's chess friend, he was the one with the highest cultivation among the helpers. He was already at the peak of the truth-seeking realm, and his Taoist name was Masato Kitano. The big shots standing on the martial arts practice field of the Eternal Sect were all top powerhouses among the ranks of rogue cultivators. According to the traditional plot, they would usually only appear in the middle or later stages. But now, with a single arrow piercing through the clouds, thousands of troops and horses came to meet them. Whoosh whoosh! A heavy aura enveloped the entire sect, as if it could shatter space. Jun Changsha was completely shocked. With his current strength, he could barely stand firm in the upper realm. But he was at most a low-level figure. What about now? Standing in front of him were all hidden powerhouses. It felt like a newbie facing a group of max-level accounts. The spectators were also shocked. They came here this time to watch the Lingwei True Sect. In the end, the situation took a sudden turn. In the end, it became a situation where the top powerhouses of the human race and the powerhouses of the other clans fought head-on. Big news! Big news! If this was not controlled well, it was very likely that the relationship between the human race and the other clans would break, and it would evolve into the era of the Great War between the clans. Many martial artists had not experienced the era of war tens of thousands of years ago. However, from the history books, it was known that it was an era where geniuses were born in large numbers. It was also the darkest era. Later, after many negotiations, the human race and the other clans finally reached an agreement and signed a peace agreement, which led to the current peaceful and stable situation. Sigh. Masato Kitano shook his head and said, You still can't stay out of it. You're still involved. A bitter smile appeared on Jinren Tonggu's face. Previously, when the two of them were playing chess, they had discussed the matter of the various major races becoming active. They had also expressed that their Tao hearts were very stable and would not be involved. However, in the end, they were still not fortunate enough to escape. Moreover, only now did he know that the clan that had been silent for a long time was actually looking for the stolen egg, and the one who stole the egg was the disciple he had just accepted. This meant that he couldn't escape even if he wanted to. Since that was the case, he could only face it head-on. Jinren Tonggu glanced at the experts hovering in the air and said coldly, I'll say it again. If anyone dares to touch my disciple, I'll fight them to the death. His voice resounded through the entire sky. Although Go Sheng was a big scammer, this Shurzuan was very responsible. The experts of the various clans frowned. If it was just Jinren Tonggu alone, they would not be too afraid. But now, he had so many helpers, and they were all at the top level. If they fought, it would be tantamount to falling out with the human race. Tisk tisk. At this moment, a voice came from above the sky. Little Tonggu, I haven't seen you for so many years, But you're still so annoying. Zhenren Tonggu raised his head and said in a low voice, Qingming Dragon King? Whoosh, whoosh. The space seemed to be torn apart by some kind of force. For people wearing clothes made of precious materials slowly appeared. Whoosh whoosh. A special and majestic aura instantly pressed down. The 4 great dragon kings. The experts of the various clans were shocked. Other than the human race that currently dominated the upper realm, the dragon clan was the strongest. The appearance of the 4 great dragon kings, who represented the clan's authority, naturally shocked all the experts present. It's over, it's over. The purple king howled in his heart. He hurriedly turned around, afraid that the other party would recognize him as the culprit who stole the dragon egg. Brat. Although Zhenren Tonggu looked calm, he said telepathically, You stole the dragon egg? I didn't steal it. Jun Changxiao broke down. The system stole the egg, and he was the scapegoat. He had nothing to say. However, he could say with a clear conscience that he, Jun Changxiao, had never stolen a dragon egg. Yes, Go Sheng had never stolen a dragon egg, but the Purple King had. Now that he was the hall master of the sect of all times, as the patriarch, he could not run away. He had to take the blame. Everyone thought that the Taishan elder and Zhenren Tonggu were the scapegoats. In fact, if they thought about it carefully, Jun Changxiao was the real scapegoat. Moreover, it was only natural that he took the blame. There was nothing wrong with it. The sect of all times was besieged by the various clans. It was already very troublesome. Now that the 4 great dragon kings of the dragon clan had arrived, even the murderous aura in the air became more intense. Jun Changxiao broke down. Originally, it was just the Lingwei true sect who came to find trouble. Why did the situation escalate to an uncontrollable level? Go Sheng, who was standing behind the big shots, was nothing more than a rookie player who was fighting monsters and leveling up. Suddenly facing the entire server's number of max-level players, he really couldn't handle it. Of course, the big shots present had already automatically ignored him. To be exact, ever since the various clans appeared, they did not put Jun Changxiao in their eyes. What they cared about was Zhenren Tonggu. After all, one of the top powers of the human clan. Big brother, the 4 great dragon kings are here. I'm afraid we won't be able to complete the mission given by the high priest. Damn it! Long Tongue and Long Fei, who had secretly rushed to the ancient immortal mountain, broke down. This time, the 2 of them came under the orders of the high priest to secretly take away the awakened dragon emperor. After confirming the location with great difficulty, the 4 great dragon kings arrived soon after. Zhenren Tonggu said indifferently, Why do the 4 of you have time to come here? Humph. Qingming Dragon King sneered. We are here to welcome the Dragon Emperor. If you know what's good for you, hand it over quickly. Dragon Emperor? Zhenren Tonggu and Masato Kitano frowned. The Dragon Emperor was the supreme ruler of the Dragon clan. Wasn't he always in the Dragon realm? The 4 Dragon Kings came to the Fengqi Immortal Mountain to welcome him. Was there something wrong with their brains? Master, Jun Changxiao sent a sound transmission. My contract beast is a 5-clawed dragon. Zhenren Tonggu almost fell to the ground when he heard this. The contract beasts of Sect disciples were all demonic beasts that were valued by the various clans. It was already inconceivable, but his disciple's contract beast was a 5-clawed dragon that represented imperial power. Stinking brat, Zhenren Tonggu reprimanded. And you said you didn't steal the dragon egg. I really didn't steal it. Jun Changxiao broke down. Zhenren Tonggu didn't blame him anymore. Instead, he looked at the 4 great dragon kings and said indifferently, According to the agreement, your clans are not allowed to enter the world without permission. So if you have any problems, you can go to the Jia Hall. Don't threaten my disciple. Fortunately, the people from the Jia Hall hadn't arrived yet. Otherwise, they would definitely vomit blood. Your disciple caused trouble. And as the master, you want to take the blame for it. But you want to push the blame to us? This is too much of a bully. Don't worry. The Thunder Rhombus race expert said coldly. We will definitely go to the Jia Hall to seek justice. For now, let the humans who signed the contract kill themselves. Chapter 1400. Under normal circumstances, when humans and beasts signed a contract, the contract would be dissolved upon the death of one party. For the sake of Jinren Tonggu and Masato Kitano, the major clans didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Therefore, they took a step back and let Li Qingyang and the others who had signed the contract commit suicide. I'm sorry, Jun Changxiao said indifferently. My sect's disciples have signed a life contract with your people. The experts of the major clans opened their eyes wide. Ha ha ha. Suddenly Jinren Tonggu burst into laughter. A life contract was the most advanced type of contract. Once a life contract was established, both parties would prosper and suffer together. My disciple, after laughing, Jinren Tonggu said, let your disciples commit suicide. Ah, Jun Changxiao was dumbfounded. However, he soon understood what his master meant, so he winked at Li Qingyang and the others. Clang, clang, clang. In an instant, the disciples drew their swords and placed them on their necks. The major clans panicked. The expert of the Thunder Rhombus tribe said hurriedly, Kid, don't be rash. Let's talk things over. Although they couldn't be sure if a life contract was really established, the major clans didn't dare to take the risk, because the stolen beasts were all elites of their clans. Some of them were even future successors, and there might not be one in thousands of years. Seeing that they were nervous, Jun Changxiao said to himself, I have hostages. What's there to be afraid of? Jinren Tonggu said lightly, if I'm not wrong, these beasts should be the elites of your clans. If they die, you'll suffer a great loss. The experts of the various clans looked terrible. They had come aggressively to demand for the beasts. But because of the life contract, they were threatened. The situation changed too quickly. Of course, the major clans wouldn't let it go. No matter what, they had to bring the stolen beasts back. Swish, swish. At this moment, the experts of the Jia Hall flew over. When they saw the major clans surrounding a clan, their expressions became interesting. Wait, why were Jinren Tonggu and Masato Kitano here? The Thunder Rhombus Race's expert said coldly, your Jia Hall is finally here. The other clans also gave him cold looks, unable to suppress their anger. On the surface, the Jia Hall controlled the entire world. The eggs of every race had been stolen. If they wanted to settle the score, they would definitely look for this organization first. Sensing the anger on the faces of the various clans, the experts of the Boundary Hall, who had rushed over, were confused. Senior Tonggu, one of the higher-ups, asked respectfully, what's going on? Jinren Tonggu said, all the major clans came to bully my disciple. The Jia Hall is responsible for maintaining world peace. Can you tolerate your own clansmen being bullied? Jun Changxiao's attempt to shift the blame could only be considered child's play. The true master of shifting the blame was still this big shot. With just one sentence, he had shifted all the blame to Jia Tang, and even elevated the matter to the height of the race. The Qingming Dragon King, who had been silent all this while, finally spoke up. You humans have stolen so many beast eggs from the other races. If the Realm Hall doesn't give us an explanation today, don't blame us for being merciless. They didn't expect that the various races would be here to welcome the Dragon Emperor. They would definitely take this opportunity to stir up trouble. The mouth of the experts of the Jia Hall twitched. There were at least 100 clans present, and all of them had their eggs stolen. This was a little terrifying. Who the hell did this? Also, shouldn't they be looking for the culprit? Why was it all on the Jia Hall? There was no other way. The culprit involved was under the protection of Jinren Tonggu. The major clans had no choice but to point their fingers at the Jia Hall. Who asked them to be the enforcers? Everyone. Masato Kitano acted as the peacemaker and said, I already have a rough understanding of the situation. Actually, there's no need to be so stiff. Why don't we each take a step back? These words almost made the major clans curse. We have been giving in ever since we appeared. Instead, you humans keep pushing your luck. The expert of the Thunder Rhombus race said coldly, my clansmen must be taken away today. That's right. The experts of the other clans all expressed their opinions. No matter how they backed off, the principle of taking the demonic beasts away would not change. How about this? Masato Kitano suggested. Since they can sign a life contract with your clansmen, it means that they are fated to be together. Since you want to take them away, then take them away together. I don't agree. Jun Changshao immediately refused. Those are my core disciples. How can I let them go with the major clans? Brat. Zhenren Tonggu transmitted his voice. The first requirement of signing a life contract is that the attributes of both parties are perfectly compatible. The territories of the major clans all have powerful attribute energies. If your disciples follow them, their strength will definitely increase significantly. Is that so? Jun Changshao questioned. Zhenren Tonggu said, let's say that the Thunder Rhombus race's Thunder Pool contains extremely powerful thunder attributes. Your disciples can sign a life contract with the Thunder Rhombus beast and temper themselves inside. It will be easy for them to break through to the reincarnation core realm. Jun Changshao was immediately tempted. Ever since he ascended from the sect, he had not added any new martial arts facilities. If the Thunder Rhombus race's Thunder Pool could greatly improve Li Qingyang's strength, it would definitely be a good thing. There's also the Ice Phoenix clan's Frigid Pond. The ice attribute contained within it is second to none in the entire upper realm. Your female disciple with an ice attribute physique will only increase her realm even faster if she enters it. Venerable Tong Gu continued, but what if the major clans bully my disciples? They've already signed a life contract. If they dare to bully your disciples, they'll be going against their own clansmen. Jun Changshao began to seriously consider. Moreover, Zhenren Tonggu continued, your disciples' cultivation will increase, and their contracted beast's cultivation will also increase. When they realize this, they'll probably be overjoyed. Okay. Jun Changshao immediately expressed his stance. You can take these demonic beasts away, but you have to take my disciples with you. The powerhouses of the major clans almost vomited blood. We came all the way here, and we still have to bring back a human? What kind of situation is this? If you don't agree, Zhenren Tonggu said calmly, we'll have to die together. Swoosh, swoosh. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji placed their swords on their necks again. Damn it. The powerhouses of the various clans gritted their teeth in anger. Okay. The powerhouse of the Thunder Rhombus race said, we can take them away, but they can only stay in our clan for 2 years. After that they'll scram. TSK. Jun Changshao snorted coldly and said, you're talking as if my disciples will refuse to leave. It's decided then. Old man Chi said, the various clans will take them away for 2 years. The Boundary Hall will bear witness. The powerhouse of the Boundary Hall broke down. We still don't understand what's going on. Why are we suddenly bearing witness? As the disciples of the sect of all times had signed a life contract with their own clansmen, the major clans did not dare to act rashly. Therefore, after a friendly negotiation, they agreed to take the disciples back to their clans for 2 years. Patriarch. Li Qingyang stopped at the foot of the mountain with the Thunder Rhombus beast in his arms. His eyes were filled with reluctance. Standing at the mountain gate, Jun Changshao smiled and said, give me a surprise 2 years later. Yes. Li Qingyang turned around and left with the Thunder Rhombus race. Lu Chanqian, Yi Xingchen, Xiao Ziji, and Su Xiaoma also left with the other major clans. The murderous aura that gathered in the sky gradually faded as the various clans left. Phew. Watching his precious treasures leave, Jun Changshao took a deep breath. Then, he turned his head and secretly wiped away the tears at the corner of his eyes. Sand got in my eyes. Originally, it was the various clans who came looking for trouble. The situation gradually escalated and even turned into a falling out between the human race and the other clans. However, under the control of Zhenren Tonggu and Masato Kitano, the situation turned into a few core disciples who obtained an opportunity. Of course, many clans did not leave because they had not seen their own clansmen. Jun Changshao had only hatched a few eggs so far. The rest were all stored in the Spirit Beast Hall. He could not take them out even if he wanted to. Therefore, he could only say shamelessly, everyone, I didn't steal your eggs. If you don't believe me, you can come and search. Chapter 1401. Jun Changshao refused to admit that he had stolen the egg, and because it had not hatched yet, the various races were unable to confirm it, so after a round of negotiations, they could only choose to leave. Everyone. Before leaving, he heard Gosheng say, "If I find the egg, I will definitely inform you to come and collect it." Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others left with the various races, giving him a new idea. In the future, he would equip the other disciples with contract beasts and arrange for them to eat and drink with the various races. The various races were either depressed or cursing as they left. Only the 4 great dragon kings from the dragon clan did not leave, because they had yet to see the future dragon emperor. Stinking brat. Zhenren Tonggu sent a sound transmission. "Hurry up and call out your contract beast, follow these dragon kings and leave." Air. Jun Changshao immediately felt awkward. Li Qingyang and the others' contract beasts were hatched under normal circumstances, and their forms did not change at all. However, the little dragon had mutated during its incubation period, and if the dragon experts were to discover that it was different, the problem would be a bit serious. "Kid," Qingming Dragon King said coldly, "we have already sensed the aura of the Dragon Emperor. It's useless even if you hide it, so hurry up and hand it over." The other 3 Dragon Kings gradually released their cultivation. It was obvious that as long as the other party did not cooperate, they would attack. Because the various races were afraid of Zhenren Tonggu and Masato Kitano, they were forced to compromise and take away Li Qingyang and the others. However, the 4 strongest dragons were not afraid of fighting at all, and even hoped that the other party would fight with them. Warlike. One of the dragon race's characteristics. Disciple. Zhenren Tonggu said. "These few dragon kings are a bit difficult to deal with." Jun Changshao began to feel conflicted. Whoosh! Just at this moment, the little dragon flew down from Dragon Head Peak and landed beside him saying, "I'll go with you." "It's our dragon emperor." Long Fei, who was hiding in the shadows, said excitedly. Long Teng frowned. "Why is there something wrong with the aura?" The little dragon exuded a royal aura that only the dragon clan could sense. However, there was something different about it. It felt like its bloodline was not pure. Since the Tengfei brothers had sensed it, the 4 dragon kings naturally sensed it as well. Thus they all frowned. That was right. This should be the dragon emperor that I'm looking for. But why was the aura emitted a little different? It was a good thing that little Long Long had entered its 3rd form and completely transformed into a human. If it was still in its lizard form, they would have exploded on the spot. "Master." With its back facing Jun Changshao, the little dragon said, "Thank you for taking care of me all these years. It's not a life and death parting. Why are you being so sentimental?" Jun Changshao shook his head. The 4 dragon kings were very strong, which made him realize that it would be difficult to resolve the conflict if he didn't hand over the little dragon. Therefore, he could only accept the outcome of separating from the contract beast. Zhenren Tonggu had also enlightened Gosheng just now. The content was, "Your contracted beast can only become a real dragon in the dragon realm." Go. Jun Changshao compromised. The disciples had already endured the pain of letting the major clans take them away. What was the point of letting the contract beasts leave? Moreover, this was a great opportunity for them. The little dragon walked away. 2 lines of tears appeared on its face that had already faded. Jun Changshao turned around again, forcefully suppressing the reluctance in his heart. He bit his lips and looked up at the sky. "Master." The little dragon stopped in front of the mountain gate, raised its hand to wipe away its tears and said, "I will be back. If you want to leave, leave quickly. Don't talk so much nonsense." Jun Changshao roared. The little dragon walked down the Sect gate. It didn't look back during the entire process. It was only until it was enveloped by the special energy of the 4 dragon kings that it gradually disappeared into the sky. With the departure of the 4 dragon clan powerhouses, the murderous aura in the air weakened a lot. Phew! The Purple King let out a long sigh of relief. He was completely relieved that the dragon clan didn't pursue the matter of the stolen eggs. Old Purple felt comfortable, but Jun Changshao, who was facing the main hall, felt as if a knife was piercing his heart. After all, the core disciples and contract beasts that he treasured so much had left him just like that. Am I useless as a patriarch if I let others take them away? Yes, the system said frankly. Jun Changshao clutched his chest and said, "It's so uncomfortable. I want to cry." Although the disciples and contract beasts were taken away by various clans, it was also their opportunity. But what if the situation was different? What if it involved life and death? Wouldn't he have no ability to protect them? So the host needs to become stronger. So strong that you don't have to rely on your master or external forces to protect your most important loved ones, the system said. He didn't take the opportunity to encourage Jun Changshao to shop in the store, because a true good friend would give him warmth at a critical moment. Why aren't you leaving? Do you want to stay for a meal? Jinren Tonggu looked at the warriors of the Jia Hall, with a hint of impatience on his face. Goodbye. Goodbye. The people of the Jia Hall quickly left the Aeon Immortal Mountain. When they came, they were full of question marks, and when they left, they were still full of question marks. They had even taken the blame for countless times, because the various races had placed all the blame on them for the theft of the eggs. It was Jun Changshao who did it, but he belonged to the human camp. So the Jia Hall, who was in charge of managing the world, had to be able to take the blame. Of course, they still obtained a very important piece of information, and that was that the patriarch of the sect of all times was Jinren Tonggu's disciple. Master. On a mountain in the distance, the hunchbacked old man said in surprise, "This kid has a strong background." He and Empress Ling Yao had arrived early, but because the powerful cultivators of various clans were gathered at the sect of all times, and Jinren Tonggu and other top cultivators were present, they didn't have the right to go. To put it simply, with the situation just now, not many people had the right to go. Empress Ling Yao said. The Jia Hall was still discussing how to deal with the sect of all times, but now I'm afraid they've completely given up on that idea. If Jin Hao knew about this, he would probably vomit blood. The hunchbacked old man laughed. Empress Ling Yao said calmly, he should be praying that the sect of all times doesn't grow too quickly, or his life will be in danger. Let's go. Let's go back. Before leaving, she looked in a certain direction and thought, the environment of the various clans is extremely cruel. Can he survive for 2 years? Yi Xingchen, who was following the Panhu cultivators, suddenly stopped and looked back at the Aeon Immortal Mountain. He clenched his fists and said, Patriarch, wait for my return. Woof woof. The husk-like Panhu barked twice, then rubbed its head against its owner's body. Seeing this, the Panhu cultivators almost wanted to beat up Yi Xingchen. After all, this was the next successor carefully selected by their race. How could he sign a NATO contract with a human trash? Lu Qianqian, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and Su Xiaoma also stopped and looked back at the Aeon Immortal Mountain. They didn't know what kind of hardships they would face after leaving the sect, but they had already made up their minds to become stronger. To become stronger. Patriarch. Fellow sect members. Wait for our return. 2 years really wasn't too long. He could only wait and see what changes would happen when the core disciples returned. Disciple. After sending off his friends, Jinren Tonggu said meaningfully, the upper realm is far more complicated than you think. The path of developing the sect is destined to be long. Jun Changshao clenched his fists and said, Teacher, I want to become stronger. Seeing the absolute desire for power in his eyes, Jinren Tonggu said seriously, then follow me to the extreme cavern for 2 years of hellish training. Okay. On the same day, Jun Changshao handed over the sect's affairs to Rose of Flowers, and left the Aeon Immortal Mountain without hesitation. In the beginning, Goxing only used the name of Jinren Tonggu's disciple to intimidate others. Now that he left with Jinren Tonggu, and went through the hellish training, they were truly master and disciple. Husband. On the Dragon Head Peak, Rose of Flowers looked at the disappearing figure and thought, I will take care of the sect and wait for your return in 2 years. Chapter 1402. The core disciples and contracted beasts went to various clans to train, and the patriarch was also taken away by Jinren Tonggu. the sect of all times entered a relatively peaceful phase. Fortunately, before Jun Changxiao left, he had already set up a pill business and opened up more medicinal fields. Rows of flowers and the rest could operate normally. The planting of medicinal herbs and the sale of pills continued, and the disciples worked even harder in their cultivation. 2 years was a short time for ordinary people, not to mention martial artists who could easily live for thousands of years. Therefore, in these 700 days, the extent to which the sect of all times could develop with the support of the industry was also something to look forward to. At the same time, the news of various clans gathering at Phoenix Perch Immortal Mountain and surrounding the sect of all times began to spread through the entire upper realm, causing a huge commotion. Zhenren Tonggu, Masato Kitano, and the other powerhouses all appeared, gathering the powerful aura between heaven and earth. Even now, thinking about it is still shocking. Brother, what exactly happened to alarm so many reclusive big shots? I'm not sure about the details. I only know that someone stole the beast eggs of various clans, and then they all came looking for him. What happened after that? They didn't fight, it should have been settled peacefully. The people from the realm hall came too. I heard that the 4 dragon kings almost fought back then. Various martial artists frantically tried to find out what happened before, but due to the limited sources of information, they could not accurately understand the situation. The main reason was that the various clans and reclusive big shots were present at that time, and the martial artists who were watching the show could only watch from afar. They were even worried that the fight would affect them, so they had no idea about the details at all. However, a piece of shocking news spread. The patriarch of the sect of all times, who had just ascended for a few months, was actually Zhenren Tonggu's direct disciple. That's awesome. For a moment, all the martial artists, especially the young elites, were envious and jealous. After all, Senior Tonggu was too powerful in the upper realm. Everyone did not know much about what happened at the ancient Immortal Mountain, but they all remembered that the newly ascended sect was not a pushover, but had a strong background. Oh, that's right. Not long after Jun Changxiao left, Spirit Micro True Sect sent over 200 million profound stones. This was also not a small amount of resources. After discussing with Yuan Gongzi and the others, Rows of Flowers decided to invest all of it in medicinal herbs. Every large-scale clan had their own territory. For example, the Dragon clan resided in an independent space, known as the Dragon Domain. This region was more like a small world. It was attached to the upper realm system, but it had a separate entrance and exit. It was almost impossible for humans to break in. The territories where the Thunder Chestnut race and the Ice Phoenix race lived were called the Thunder Chestnut Domain and the Ice Phoenix Domain, because it was created by the different races. Each domain gathered the attributes of heaven and earth that were beneficial to them, and it was suitable for the cultivation and growth of the same race. ZZZ. ZZZ. When Li Qingyang was brought into the Thunder Caltrip region, he felt as if he was in a thundercloud. Dense electric arcs flowed everywhere he looked. There were also other heaven and earth elements here, but the lightning element was the main element, and its purity was much higher than in the outside world. Li Qingyang's blood and physique were ignited. The Thunder Caltrip beast, who had established a life contract with him, felt the stronger lightning element environment, and its eyes flickered with excitement. Kid, a powerhouse from the Thunder Caltrip race said coldly, "Can you withstand it?" This independent space not only contained the lightning element, but also powerful demonic qi. Ordinary human martial artists would easily have their minds corroded when they entered. Li Qingyang said, "Yes, demonic qi was poisonous to him, but it was a great tonic to the contracted beast." The two had established a life contract, so naturally, they would not be corroded and would even benefit from it. "Let's go," the Thunder Caltrip race powerhouse said lightly. "There are stronger attributes inside." From the beginning to the end, his words were cold. Obviously, he did not like this human. "There are stronger ones." Li Qingyang's eyes lit up. The lightning element here had already made his blood boil. If there were stronger ones, it would be too blissful. ZZZ. ZZZ. As he followed the other party, the lightning element around him became stronger, and his blood boiled. Comfortable. Too comfortable. Li Qingyang was not happy for too long. As they approached the city where the thunder caltrip race had lived for generations, the lightning element became more and more intense. His whole body began to feel tearing pain. A pained look appeared in the little lightning rhombus beast's eyes. Clearly, its innate effect had been triggered. Seeing this, the powerhouse leading the way hurriedly grabbed Li Qingyang and took him to the outside. The tearing feeling gradually dissipated when they left the stronger layer. Kid, you're too weak to withstand the stronger lightning element. Stay at the outer layer from now on. A touch of bitterness appeared on Li Qingyang's face. He thought that he could adapt well to the stronger lightning element environment, but he could not withstand it before even reaching the city. In fact, he had not yet entered the void-piercing realm, and it was already good that he had made it this far. If it were a martial artist from the upper world, he would have burped under the dual effects of the lightning element and demonic chi. The little thunder caltrip beast walked over and rubbed against its master to comfort him. Sorry. Li Qingyang patted its little head and said, I've dragged you down. The little thunder caltrip beast was not afraid of the lightning element here, but because it had signed a life contract, it had to experience the pain its master suffered. Because the closer they were to the city, the stronger the lightning element was. Li Qingyang could not adapt with his strength, so he could only temporarily stay at the outer layer and set up a tent. It's only 2 years. When the time is up, we'll get rid of him immediately. The Thunder Caltrip tribe did not welcome humans, but since they had an agreement with Jimren Tonggu, they brought him in and left him alone, allowing him to develop as he wished. However, after a period of training, Li Qingyang showed great perseverance, which greatly surprised them. Buzz, buzz, buzz! In the thunderstorm area closest to the city, a figure stood there, surrounded by lightning and arcs. I can still hold on. I can still hold on. Li Qingyang's face gradually became ferocious, and his meridians and blood were refined by the pure lightning element again and again. Plop! A few hours later, he returned to the temporary tent and lay down like a pile of mud. The little thunder caltrip beast also experienced the same torture as its master, and leaned against the side, sore all over. 1 day, 10 days, 1 month. Under the camera, Li Qingyang fell down again and again, and stood up again and again. The tent kept moving forward, and they were getting closer and closer to the city. Tisk tisk. The Thunder Caltrip race expert said in surprise. This human is not bad. Huff huff. On the 50th day after arriving here, Li Qingyang finally managed to step into the lower void shattering stage from the great circle of the martial saint realm by relying on his great willpower and continuous tempering. The little thunder chestnut beast that had signed a life contract with him had also been completely refined. Was it fast? In Yi Xingchen's eyes, it was not fast at all, because this guy had only cultivated for 20 to 30 days in the Panhu region and reached the lower void piercing realm. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. On the day of the breakthrough, Anyo covered his face and laughed. The lower void piercing realm was equivalent to the martial emperor realm in the Starfall continent, which meant that he had recovered to the peak level of his previous life. Li Qingyang pursued stability, so he focused on stability when cultivating in the Thunder Caltrip region. Yi Xingchen was different, and he started to cultivate to the extreme in the Panhu region, and he would not stop until he was exhausted. Lunatic. A lunatic who doesn't care about his life. That was the Panhu race expert's comment on Anyo. The contract beast would be the next to suffer, and it would be lying on the ground like its master every day. In the beginning, the little fellow's heart was broken. However, after overloading his cultivation, he gradually accepted it, and even felt pain and joy at the same time. Continue, continue. Reaching the lower void-piercing realm was not enough to satisfy Yi Xingchen. He wanted to reach the middle, upper, and then Empress Lingyao's level. Compared to Anyo's reckless cultivation, Li Qingyang's tempering step by step was simply too steady. Of course, stability had its benefits, at least it could be sustained. Unlike Yi Xingchen, who had to rest for a long time every time he pushed himself to the limit. Inside the Xian Turtle region, Xiao Ziji was half naked, and he was carrying a huge rock on his back as he struggled to move forward. The rock was not big, but it was heavier than a mountain. The Xian Turtle race was a defense-oriented race, and the region they lived in had a natural gravity system. Even a small rock under their feet would weigh 1,000 pounds. Little guy, a white-haired old man in human form said, "If you are so tired from carrying a 5th-grade rock, don't even think about carrying a 1st-grade rock for the next 2 years." Xiao Ziji did not say anything, and he continued to move forward. The old man shook his head, then turned and left. When he arrived the next day, he found that the little guy had fallen asleep with a 5th-grade rock on his back. So he said in surprise, "It's incredible that a human's physical strength can last for so long." More than a month after coming to the Xian Turtle region, Xiao Ziji entered the lower void-piercing realm, and the 5th-grade rock on his back was replaced by a 4th-grade rock. The stronger weight and gravity disturbed his whole body, and every inch of his muscles was stimulated and strengthened. Shua! Shua! In the dense and complicated jungle, Su Xiaoma was running at top speed, and his forehead was already dripping with sweat. He did not know how long he had run, but his legs seemed to be filled with lead, and he finally stopped panting. "Kid!" Suddenly, a figure landed on a tree and said, "You hid for a long time this time." Su Xiaoma was paralyzed on the ground and said weakly, Don't worry, wait a while. I will make sure you can't catch up." Shameless boasting. The elite of the Divine Walker race sneered. 2 months later, in the same complicated environment, at the same place, Su Xiaoma, who had broken through to the void-piercing realm, shuttled through the grass with extremely fancy steps. Although he was caught in the end, the time it took to catch him had increased from the initial 15 minutes to 2 hours. TSK. The elite of the Divine Walker race in charge of training him said in surprise, "You have some ability, human. Have you heard? The human woman who signed a life contract with our future successor has been approved by the Patriarch to enter the cold pool to train. No way? She can take it. I heard from the elders that she has been in there for 2 days. Our Ice Phoenix race has to temper in the small cold pool for at least a few decades before we can go to the cold pool. She, a human who has been here for less than 2 months, went in. This speed is too exaggerated. The Patriarch has a very high opinion of that woman, and even took the initiative to summon her. Outside, in a place with mountains and forests, surrounded by clouds and mist, a scream suddenly pierced through the sky, breaking the original peace. What are you howling for? Ouch, ouch, ouch. On the flat ground outside the extreme cave abode, Jun Changshao grimaced as he sat in a wooden basin. There was a viscous medicinal liquid in the basin, and when it came into contact with his skin and flesh, he immediately felt a bone-piercing pain. If you can't even bear this little pain, how can you accept the devil's training? Zhenren Tonggu rolled his eyes at him. Master! Jun Changshao broke down and said, "This medicinal bath of yours not only stimulates my muscles and meridians, but also my soul. I feel like I'm about to ascend to heaven." "Don't talk nonsense," Zhenren Tonggu said. "Soak in it for a month first." Ah! Jun Changshao directly leaned the back of his head against the medicinal basin, and a ferocious expression appeared on his face. This so-called marrow and bone cleansing medicinal bath was condensed by Zhenren Tonggu after spending 1,000 years collecting hundreds of heavenly and earthly treasures. The effect was not only to temper the body and meridians, but also to greatly enhance the strength of the soul. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others mostly received a single type of training, while Go Sheng received an all-round training. The taste was definitely not good. The most devastated thing was, core disciples at least had contracted beasts that could share the master's pain. Jun Changshao relied on his own willpower to endure. During this period, he could not rest and had to soak in it for a month. "Master, I want to relieve myself." "In the basin." "Master, I want to take a dump." "In the big basin." Under the supervision of the strict master, Jun Changshao forcibly soaked in the marrow and bone cleansing medicinal bath for an entire month. When he walked out, his skin was smooth and tender, as white as jade. "Damn," Go Sheng said in surprise. "The change is so big." The system said. Not only that, the host's blood, meridians, muscles, and even soul have been greatly improved. Is that so? Jun Changshao hurriedly closed his eyes and looked inside his body. Indeed, compared to a month ago, there was an earth-shattering change. He then exclaimed, Master is indeed the top boss in the upper realm. Even a medicinal bath made by him is so awesome. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden mission, Rebirth. The reward is 300,000 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points. 900,000. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden mission Rebirth. The hidden reward has been triggered. The reward is Experience Talisman X5. It's here. The forward hidden mission. Jun Changshao was stunned when he heard the notification. Then he squatted on the ground and laughed. Li Qingyang and the others were already used to this kind of situation. Jimren Tonggu, who was sitting next to him and studying the chess pieces, was surprised. Why is he laughing like a fool? Master. Jun Changshao stood up and said, When will the devil training begin? I can't wait. Right now. Jimren Tonggu picked up a willow branch and suddenly attacked with a cold gaze. Swoosh. Swoosh. In an instant, a dense stream of light came over in a crisscrossing pattern. Jun Changshao's expression changed greatly. He hurriedly tried to dodge, but it was too late. He was whipped until he screamed and barked like a dog. Smack, 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 smack. After a simple and unadorned attack, Gosheng lay on the ground covered in cuts and bruises. White foam came out of his mouth. What kind of devil training is this? Over the next month, Jun Changshao began to be personally trained by Jinren Tonggu. He was whipped on the ground again and again. It was called training his sensitivity and reaction. 2 years later, Jun Changshao walked out of the extreme cave. Due to the rebirth, his skin was very white and delicate, but there was a sense of vicissitudes in his eyes. Master. Jun Changshao said, I'm leaving. Scram, scram, scram. Jinren Tonggu said angrily. Don't let me see you. He brought this guy to undergo cruel devil training, hoping that he could break through from the first transformation to the third or fifth transformation. In the end, after 2 whole years, he did not even reach the second transformation. It was a huge blow to his self-esteem. He even suspected that he was not suitable to teach disciples. No, Jinren Tonggu was very professional in training. Even ordinary people without talent could be nurtured into talents. Jun Changshao did not improve because he was suppressed by the epic mission. In fact, not long after the bone marrow cleansing medicinal bath, the epic mission came, and the content was to wait for the disciples to return in 2 years. To be exact, the completion condition of this mission was to wait for Li Qingyang and the rest to return to the sect. It was simple, but it was time-consuming. He wanted the sect to become an immortal-level sect within 100 years, but in the end, there was an epic mission with a 2-year time limit. Wasn't this fucking cheating him? Sigh. Jun Changshao was helpless. However, he could not do nothing. Hence, he continued to cultivate with Jinren Tonggu. Although his cultivation level remained the same, his understanding of martial arts had changed drastically. Swoosh. He put on a black robe and put on a pair of sunglasses. Jun Changshao walked out of the extreme cavern abode and said proudly, I'm no longer who I used to be. Sizzle sizzle. In the thunder pool of the thunder rhombus race, Li Qingyang, who seemed to have been asleep for a long time, slowly opened his eyes and said, It's been 2 years. At the whirlpool connecting the Panhu region and the outside world, Yi Xingchen walked out, and the small Panhu beast behind him had changed from a husky to a large husky. Su Xiaoma and Xiao Ziji also left the independent space at the same time. As they had been using the hidden cultivation technique, it was hard to see how strong they were. However, the 2 years of training had made them mature. Pucci. In the whirlpool outside the Ice Phoenix region, the Ice Phoenix flapped its wings and flew out with Lu Qianqian on its back. This woman's temperament was colder than before, and she was also more pure. Patriarch. Everyone looked in the direction of the ancient immortal mountain and said with determination, We're back. Chapter 1403. 2 years really passed by quickly, and a chapter had passed. However, Jun Changxiao's first transition realm did not increase due to the suppression of the epic mission. It was a little troublesome. Martial arts could be measured by strength, but knowledge and experience were difficult to express. Therefore, although Gosheng did not increase his realm, he did not waste his time with old man Tonggu. In particular, Masato Kitano and the other big shots would occasionally drop by. He was in charge of pouring tea and water at the side, and benefited a lot from their influence. You might not believe it, but I'm just a newbie account that just entered the revolving core realm. And yet I'm always following behind a group of peak reality-seeking experts and listening to them talk about the world. What style? This is it. That's why when I left the extreme cave abode, I did not recognize anyone. Jinren Tonggu and I are master and disciple. I played chess with Masato Kitano, and I discussed the Tao with the 7 sages of Ethereal Hall. Who in the upper realm's revolving core realm is more awesome than me? There really isn't anyone. Not to mention ordinary martial artists. Even the top sects would not be able to meet a reclusive big shot of this level. Right now, Jun Changxiao was a veteran of the Jianghu who had experience, knowledge, and connections. Most importantly, he had learned Jinren Tonggu and Masato Kitano's martial arts. Although his realm did not increase, he already had a lot of skills. 2 years ago, he was humiliated by the big clans, and his family was almost destroyed. 2 years later, he returned after enduring hardships and learning martial arts. He was hailed as the strongest mercenary, and his code name was Go Sheng. When he returned to Huadu this time, he would beat up the rich second generation and kick the Gu clan. Those who followed his lead would prosper, and those who opposed him would perish. The system roared. This is a fantasy world, not a city. Tonggu, Masato Kitano, who was standing in front of the extreme cave abode, said, "Your disciple's comprehension is extremely high, and I've never seen anyone like him before. I'm really looking forward to what he can achieve in the future." Huff! He blew out a smoke ring. The electronic cigar in his hand had been exchanged with a profound martial art. At first, Jun Changxiao insisted on giving it to him for free. He even said that Shizuan's friend was his elder, so he had to accept it. In any case, Masato Kitano was a big shot with a reputation. How could he have the nerve to ask for something from a junior? Therefore, he used a martial skill called Great Strength Bone Breaking Hand in exchange. When Jun Changxiao saw this, he gave her things every now and then. As a result, Jun Changxiao obtained a lot of martial arts, and all of them were unique secret manuals. The 7 sages of Ethereal Hall were not spared either. These people did not like to play chess. They liked to recite poems, and especially liked to taste wine. Gosheng gave them the right medicine. 300 poems of the Tang dynasty were used one after another. It was definitely enough to make them drunk, until they were swaying left and right. One after another, he gifted them a lot of martial arts. After a rough estimation, Jun Changxiao had obtained no less than 10 types of martial arts from them. There were movement techniques, fist techniques, palm techniques, and sword techniques. Here came the problem. With so many profound martial arts, would he be able to master them in 2 years? He did. He comprehended all of them to the point of perfection. Jun Changxiao's comprehension was undeniable, especially after refreshing the store 2 years ago. He obtained the Talisman of Insight that was suitable for the upper realm. As long as it was not a store martial art, he would definitely understand and master it instantly. It was because of this that Masato Kitano gave him such a high evaluation. It's such a pity that I didn't witness the big event that happened at Phoenix Perch Mountain 2 years ago. Yeah, so many big shots gathered in the sky above the sect of all times. The scene must have been magnificent. If ordinary martial artists like us could have been there, we wouldn't have any regrets even if we died. In the dining hall of an inn in a city, a few martial artists were drinking while discussing what happened 2 years ago. It was obvious that even though it had been a long time, the world had not forgotten. Let's not talk about old things. Let's talk about the Sect competition that's going to be held in Majestic City in half a year. What's there to talk about? The champion will definitely be the 4 sects with the word truth in it. The Sect competition that's held every few years has always been attended by the Xian sections. It's strange that 4 sects with the word truth have been attracted to participate this time. I heard that the champion's reward is very generous. Oh, what are the rewards? I'm not sure about the details. I only heard that there's a blood sun flamecloud rock that weighs 1,000 caddies. The martial artists in the dining hall widened their eyes. The blood sun flamecloud rock was an extremely high-level treasure of heaven and earth in the upper realm. It could be used to forge weapons, treasures, and equipment. In terms of quality, it was definitely at the top of the truth level. No wonder the 4 sects with the word truth are participating. Just the 1,000 caddies of heaven and earth alone is enough to make people drool. I heard that many small sects have given up on the competition. If the sects with the word truth are participating, the sects with the name truth will definitely become cannon fodder. Giving up on the competition is a wise choice. Just as everyone was discussing fervently, the black-robed man who was drinking alone in the corner got up and went to the counter to pay the bill. He then left the inn without looking back. That was right. He was Jun Changxiao, codenamed Go Sheng. He did not take the green train or plane back to the sect. Instead, he chose to travel on foot, wanting to experience the local customs of the various cities in the upper realm. Because the hidden cultivation technique concealed one's strength and aura, he was completely ignored while drinking in the dining hall. Majestic City, Sect Grand Competition. Jun Changxiao touched his chin and said, "Interesting." Swoosh. Walking out of the city, with a light tap of his foot, he instantly flew out. His speed was so fast that the passers-by were shocked and widened their eyes. That guy's aura is only at the first transformation. Why is his flying speed so fast? Everywhere he passes, there are afterimages. Could it be Ling Zhao's unique movement technique? Ling Zhao's Lingxiao afterimage technique? Roar. In the endless wilderness, several demonic beasts comparable to the first transformation rushed over with earth-shattering footsteps. Yi Xingchen slowly raised his head and said arrogantly, "Trash." As soon as he said that, the demonic beasts that were rushing over were horrified. This was because the aura around him and his eyes were even scarier than theirs. Was he a human or one of their kind? They could not afford to offend him. The demonic beasts quickly made the decision to escape. However, just as they turned around, they saw a husky that was a few feet tall blocking their way. Their dazed eyes gradually turned sharp. Oh God! It was a Panhu beast. Swoosh! At this moment, Yi Xingchen rushed over with a strong aura of hostility. Boom 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 boom. There were no fancy moves, only simple and unadorned. When Yi Xingchen stood in front of his contracted beasts, the 4 demonic beasts behind him had huge holes in their heads and chests. Their dim eyes were still filled with the fear of death. The Panhu beast licked the blood on its master's fist clean with its tongue and looked at the corpses with a burning gaze. "Go," Yi Xingchen said. "Have a good meal." Woof woof woof. The Panhu beast barked a few times and was about to rush over, but Anyo grabbed its ear and roared, "How many times have I told you, stop barking like a dog?" Meow meow. Yi Xingchen almost fell to the ground. Although the Panhu beast was not yet an adult, its appetite was very big. The few huge demonic beasts were eaten in a short while, and only bones were left. "Let's go," Yi Xingchen said lightly. After he and his contracted beasts left, more than 10 martial artists in uniform were still in shock. "Senior brother, this guy is too fierce. He killed 4 demonic beasts in an instant." The elders were right. There is always someone better in the upper realm. A young man who looks like he is in his 20s or 30s has such terrifying strength. If this person participates in the upcoming sect competition, I'm afraid it will be difficult for our Severing Emotions true sect to deal with him. Walking alone in the mountains, he should be a rogue cultivator. He is not qualified to participate in the sect competition. What's more, senior brother has successfully severed the 3 emotions. His strength has greatly increased. He may not be weaker than him. While they were discussing, Jun Changxiao, who was on his way back to the sect, said to himself, the upcoming sect grand competition should only allow disciples to participate. It just so happens that Qingyang, Xingchen, and the others have just returned from their training. I can take them to test their strength. Chapter 1404. Sect of All Times. A large number of cultivators dressed as peddlers walked to the foot of the mountain and handed over all kinds of medicinal herb seeds to the disciples in charge of receiving them. After receiving the corresponding amount of money, they left. At the beginning of every month, this scene would happen, and it had already become a habit. The disciples who obtained all kinds of medicinal herbs returned to the sect and first reported to the higher-ups, then sent them to the medical hall for Sun Bukong to sort out and distribute the batch and quantity. In the past 2 years, the Sect of All Times' medicinal herb fields had grown to a large scale, forming a virtuous cycle in terms of planting and refining. The business of the pill store in Lin Yuan City was booming day by day, bringing in 20 to 30 million in profit every month. In fact, it could be even bigger, but Feng Gui Chun was the only one refining pills. Although the amount of medicinal herbs planted every month was large, very little was used for refining pills, and the rest could only be stored. Because of the support of the industry and the fixed amount of magnetite received at fixed times, the realm of the disciples of the Sect of All Times improved significantly. After 2 years of development, they had already reached the level of Wu Sheng, Ding Xingwang, Gong Sun Haohai, and the other higher-ups had also stepped into the lower void-piercing realm. Of course, the overall improvement was due to the environment. However, as one's realm increased, one's cultivation would also become more difficult. To reach the level of Wu Sheng, one would either need a large amount of time or a large amount of resources. In the past 2 years, the fastest improvement in the Sect of All Times was the Array Hall, because of the teachings of the Taishan Elder. Speaking of this person, it had to be mentioned that Ling Wei True's sect had previously given him the key along with the resources, so he had already escaped from the cage and regained his freedom. However, every time he taught Shengguan Xinyao, he would have a splitting headache. Of course, the Taishan Elder had also benefited a lot in the past 2 years in the sect. Because of the many ideas provided by the array-breaking chapter, he had a deep understanding of arrays. He was especially infatuated with Lu Wansher's cooking. Every time he was busy for a while, he would come to the cafeteria and say, "Girl, quickly make me a bowl of braised lion's head." In the past, he was very reluctant to take the blame for Go Sheng's troubles. Now that he was given another chance, he would definitely take the blame again. The Sect of All Times' culture was that new disciples had to play soccer. It was the rule of the Sect of All Times that the big shots who had joined the sect would definitely be fragrant. The busiest person in the past 2 years was Rose of Flowers, because before Jun Changshao left, he handed over all the affairs of the sect to her, so she had to do everything perfectly. Fortunately, the atmosphere in the sect was very good, and it was not particularly troublesome to manage. 2 years. Sitting in the study, Rose of Flowers looked through the list of medicinal materials that had just been reported. She rubbed her temples, looked out of the window and murmured, "My husband should be back soon." "Mistress." Right at this moment, Li Fei ran over and said joyfully, "Second senior brother is back." Rose of Flowers subconsciously heard that the patriarch had returned. She was overjoyed, but when she came back to her senses, she could not hide her disappointment. Sect of All Times Martial Arts Arena. Li Qingyang stopped and looked up at the main hall with the plaque, Unyielding Iron Bones. He cupped his hands and said excitedly, "Patriarch, this disciple is back." The thunder chestnut beast, which was already taller than him, was crouched behind him. Thunder and lightning gathered around its body, making it look extraordinarily mighty. Perhaps it was because he had been in a hurry, but Li Qingyang gave off a rather tired feeling. However, his sharp eyes seemed to emit the power of thunder and lightning. The disciples who had rushed over from various peaks saw this, and were all secretly amazed. Second senior brother must have undergone earth-shattering changes in the past 2 years. Senior brother. Long Xiang walked over and said, "After you left with the Thunder Chestnut tribe, the patriarch also went to cultivate with Senior Tong Gu." "I see," Li Qingyang said. "No wonder when I came up the mountain, I felt that the sect lacked a certain atmosphere." He could not say what atmosphere was lacking, but the readers knew that the sect of all times without Jun Changshao lacked a sense of grandeur. Eldest senior sister is back. Suddenly, a disciple shouted at the top of his lungs. Before the crowd could turn around, they felt an extremely strong cold current pressing down on them. The originally spring-like environment suddenly turned into the cold winter of the 12th lunar month. Yawn! Yawn! The disciples sneezed and shivered. Poochie! Poochie! An ice phoenix, flickering under the sunlight, flew over and then flapped its wings to hover above the arena. Swoosh! Lu Qianqian floated down and said, "Patriarch is not here." Clearly, she had also noticed that the sect lacked a certain grandeur. Li Qingyang had changed quite a bit. He looked more mature and steady than before. Lu Qianqian's appearance had not changed much. It was as if time had not left any traces on her face. As for her cold temperament, it was even more intense than before. If it were any other sect, they would definitely feel uncomfortable, and even catch a cold the next day. However, when the eldest senior sister returned, not only did the sect of all times disciples feel comfortable, but their spirits also became clear. After all, they had already gotten used to it. Ha ha ha. At this moment, loud laughter came from the foot of the mountain. "I'm here." From the voice, it was definitely Su Xiaoma. This guy did not take the usual path. He jumped up from the cliff at the side of the mountain gate, and then landed on the arena, with one hand on the ground, and his feet spread apart. "Senior brother Su." Li Fei happily rushed over, but in the end, he was sent flying with a kick. He then looked at Xia Shuiyin affectionately in the distance and said, "Darling, say it out loud. Did you miss me?" After returning from 2 years of training, he immediately showed off his affection. This was really like Go Sheng. Xia Shuiyin hurriedly turned around with a red face and complained in her heart, "There are so many people here. Isn't he embarrassed?" At the foot of the mountain, Yi Xingqian, who had been training along the way, walked over. Coincidentally, Xiao Ziji also arrived from another direction. The two of them were separated by dozens of feet. They looked at each other and smiled. "Junior brother Yi is here. Junior brother Xiao is here." As the two of them ascended the sect, the core disciples who had been taken away by the various clans all returned. Other than Lu Qianqian, who was as cold as ever, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others had changed a lot. Although they habitually suppressed their cultivation with the hidden cultivation technique, it could be seen from their temperament and eyes that their strength had definitely improved greatly. Moreover, all their contracted beasts had followed. The law of true fragrance was not limited to the sect of all times. It actually extended to the outside world. The most typical example was the various large clans. At first, they were very resistant to the sect of all times disciples, who signed contracts with their clansmen. However, after seeing the latter's efforts and growth, they approved of it. To put it bluntly, Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji's strength had increased, and their contracted beasts had also benefited greatly. Their realms were always the same as their masters. If they were allowed to cultivate in their own clan's territory, their speed would definitely not be so fast. Therefore, after careful discussion, the various clans' upper echelons decided to let the two sides continue to cultivate together. When did the patriarch return? Senior Tong Gu said that he had to undergo 2 years of devilish training. It's long past the time now. Without Jun Changxiao's sect of all times, it was equivalent to lacking a soul. Who? A few days later, a vast aura pressed down from the sky, causing the disciples to raise their heads in shock. In the main hall of the sect, Jun Changxiao gracefully and nimbly landed on the ground. Then he assumed the posture of shooting an eagle with a bow. Then he proudly sang, "Vaguely, I seem to have seen you in my dreams." Puff puff puff. Chapter 1405. When Jun Changxiao returned, his iron-blood loyal heart made the disciples spit out blood on the spot. It could be seen that his skills were still strong after 2 years, making people fear him. After Go Sheng returned, the missing sand sculpture qi gradually gathered. The entire sect was suddenly filled with a complete soul. "Do-do," Jun Chang said loudly. quickly prepare the banquet. He and the core disciples had returned after cultivating for 2 years, so they definitely needed to celebrate. Yes, Lu Wanshi immediately mobilized people to prepare for the banquet. You too. Yi Xingchen looked at Su Xiaoma and Li Fei and said coldly, "You're not allowed to run at night." The banquet was bound to drink alcohol. Anyo had absolute confidence in this aspect. He could guarantee that his 2 senior brothers would fall under the table. It's over. Su Xiaoma and Li Fei's faces were filled with despair. In the past, every time there was a banquet, the 2 of them would take the initiative to persuade Yi Xingchen to drink. Now they were traumatized by his drinking. Night came. 1 black, 2 black, and the others came one after another. Before the banquet began, Jun Changshao announced in front of everyone, "The disciples who went out to train for 2 years will follow me to Majestic City tomorrow to participate in the upcoming sect-wide competition." Celebrating was one thing. He couldn't forget about the proper business. Are we going to participate in the sect-wide competition again? Yi Xingchen placed 2 jars of drunken life on the table and smiled. After cultivating for 2 years, his strength had greatly increased. It was just right for him to meet the top geniuses of the various sects and measure the gap between him and them. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji's eyes were also filled with fighting spirit. If one didn't return home, it would be like walking in the night. Participating in the sect-wide competition could prove the results of their 2 years of cultivation. The banquet continued until late at night. As expected, Su Xiaoma and Li Fei fell to the ground. They each hugged an empty wine jar and said, I don't want to drink anymore. I can't. Trash. Yi Xingchen returned to his residence as if nothing had happened. At that moment, the title of wine sovereign was well deserved. On Dragon Head Peak, Jun Changshao stood in front of the courtyard. After a hard struggle, he said, "You've worked hard." He did a good job of being a hands-off manager, but the affairs of the sect were still managed by Rose of Flowers. Therefore, he came back today to thank her. Hey! Suddenly, Rose of Flowers, who was standing at the entrance of the courtyard in the distance, asked in confusion, "Who are you talking to?" It turned out that Jun Changshao was standing in front of his house. Just now he was talking to the air. Shua! Gosheng hurriedly straightened his body and said, "I drank too much. Can't I talk nonsense?" People who didn't drink too much liked to say that they drank too much. Therefore, Jun Changshao was lying, and it was very unskillful. Rose of Flowers came over and rolled her eyes at him. "Just now at the banquet, you ignored me. Now you have to wait until there's no one around to speak your mind?" Jun Changshao began to pretend that he drank too much and staggered to the courtyard. Rose of Flowers followed in and said, "I helped you take care of the sect for 2 years. Even if I didn't make any contributions, I still worked hard. Don't tell me that I'm not worthy of your gratitude? Why do you have to hide so far away, afraid that I'll hear it?" Damn. She actually heard it. I didn't say anything. I don't remember anything. Jun Changshao pretended to be drunk. The system couldn't help but say, "I really want to beat him up. Is there anyone who wants to come with me?" Shua. Rose of Flowers quickly walked up and blocked the way. She stared at him and said, "How long are you going to hide? What am I hiding from? You clearly have me in your heart, but you deliberately avoid it every time. Even your words of thanks have to hide far away and secretly say them. Please, I really drank too much. Can you stop thinking too much?" Ah! Jun Changshao immediately screamed, because Flower Rose had fiercely bitten his arm. She hatefully said, "I've never seen a man like you. You." Ding. Upper Realm Epic Mission 2 completed. Beginning calculation. Ding. Core Disciple has returned after 2 years of experience. His realm has greatly improved, and he has met the requirements. Epic Mission 2 completed. Completion rate, 200%. Host has received 1 million contribution points. Ding. Sect contribution points, 180,000. Jun Changshao, who was still ferocious, suddenly smiled. Epic Mission 2 actually gave him 1 million contribution points. It was so good that he didn't feel any pain. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing Epic Mission 2 of the Upper Realm. You have received the right to purchase high-ranked Spacetime Arcane Realm X1. High-ranked Empyrean Arcane Realm X1. Super Arcane Realm X1? Sect Function Upgrade X1. Ha ha ha. Jun Changxiao couldn't control his emotions and laughed out loud. Rose of Flowers was stunned. Did she bite him until he became stupid? Come. At this moment Jun Changxiao stretched out his other arm and said, "Bite me." She had never heard of such a strange request before. Thus, Rose of Flowers opened her mouth and bit down without hesitation. However, her strength was obviously much weaker than before. Huff huff. Huff huff huff. Suddenly, a majestic aura of advancement appeared around Jun Changxiao and instantly enveloped the entire sect of all times. The disciples who were originally in a drunken state were shocked. The patriarch is going to advance. It's always so sudden. Ding! Host has successfully broken through to the second transformation core realm. Ding! Host has successfully broken through to the third transformation core realm. After completing the epic mission, the suppression of the 2-year bottleneck was lifted. Jun Changxiao finally succeeded in advancing. He had successfully jumped to the third transformation core realm. Huff huff. At the same time, the true energy in his eukaryote was circulating crazily. After repeated transformations, it became even purer. The explosive energy immediately surged into his meridians, causing Jun Changxiao to raise his head and roar. Rose of Flowers was blown away by the shockwave. She looked at him in shock and thought, "How did you break through?" "Come." Jun Changxiao stretched out his 2 arms and said, "Bite me however you want." After advancing 2 levels in a row, he was in a great mood. Rose of Flowers glared at him and then turned to leave. It was impossible to bite him again, because biting him would only hurt his heart. Swish! Jun Changxiao suddenly grabbed her hand and pulled her back. As if possessed by a domineering CEO, he said, "Thank you." "What are you thanking me for?" "Thank you for helping me manage the sect these 2 years." Jun Changxiao said very seriously. There was no hint of a joke. Rose of Flowers turned around and said bitterly, "Did you only dare to say it face to face after I came here?" "I wanted to say it just now. I only rehearsed it once and you found out," Jun Changxiao said helplessly. In fact, Rose of Flowers misunderstood. Go Sheng was talking to himself in front of the courtyard not because he did not dare to say it in front of her, but because he wanted to rehearse it first. In the end, he was awkwardly discovered in advance. "Do you have anything else to say?" "Nothing." "You." Rose of Flowers left in a huff. After walking out of the courtyard, a smile appeared on her face. In the bamboo forest, after forcing the alcohol out of his body, Su Xiaoma stopped and looked at Xia Shuiyan affectionately. He said seriously, "I swear, I've been thinking about you for the past 2 years. I've been thinking about you when I eat, when I sleep, and when I dream about you. If you don't believe me, put your hand on my chest. My heartbeat is all about you." Chapter 1406. Sure Air had completed the mission and obtained 1,000,000 contribution points. His realm had also risen by 2 levels. After returning to his room, Jun Changxiao almost burst into song on the spot to release his excitement. The system said, the reason why the host can continuously rise in strength might be because the core disciples who returned have greatly increased their strength. It should be. The next day, Jun Changxiao called them over to ask about the results of their cultivation. The answer he got was that they had all broken through to the first transformation core realm. Is it that exaggerated? Go Sheng was stunned. Weren't these disciples the same level as him yesterday? It's okay. Jun Changxiao secretly said. The epic mission allowed me to rise by 2 levels and pull away from them. Otherwise, what would I do in the future? Go Sheng was naturally very happy that his disciple could quickly break through in 2 years. However, as the sect master, if his strength was not as good as his disciples, he would definitely lose face. Fortunately, Li Qingyang and the others had relied on their willpower and the various hardships they had gone through to improve their cultivation. Jun Changxiao had immediately used a super hardcore cheat to prevent the situation of his disciples being at the same cultivation level as their sect master. If I bring them to participate in the sect competition, wouldn't they be able to kill everyone in seconds? A first revolution revolving core cultivator was considered a cornerstone, even in a profound level sect. Although a truth level sect was stronger, their disciples might not be at this level. If they sent Li Qingyang and the others over, they should be able to easily crush them. Originally, they had planned to set off today, but Jun Changshao delayed it by a day. Because the mission reward was a lot of purchasing rights, he needed to settle down before leaving. Swish. Opening the purchased items column, it showed the high-grade space-time secret realm, high-grade ninth heaven secret realm, and creation room super. What the fuck super? Jun Changshao shook his head and looked at the price one by one. The expression on his face gradually stiffened, because any one of them required 500,000 contribution points. Buying 3 items, the contribution points rewarded are not enough, and you still have to pay 500,000 contribution points. Although it's a bit expensive, the system said, but buying these martial arts facilities will definitely bring earth-shaking changes to the sect. Nonsense, Jun Changshao roared. If I don't bring about a huge change after spending 1.5 million contribution points, wouldn't my contribution points be wasted? Although the 3 items were a little expensive, he still reluctantly spent 1.5 million to buy them. When he heard that he only had 300,000 contribution points left, he immediately clutched his chest and said, I'm poor again. The system continued. Your sect has also become stronger. Jun Changshao would only know if he could become stronger after a test. Therefore, he placed the 2 secret realms at the back of the mountain. In fact, just from the word high grade, he could roughly guess that it was nothing more than an upgraded version. In terms of functions and effects, it must be stronger. However, when Jun Changshao entered the space-time secret realm first, he tested it and found that the acceleration effect was still 100 times. What's the difference between this and middle grade? Host, please carefully sense the heaven and earth attributes inside. Oh, Jun Changshao calmed himself down and exclaimed, damn, the heaven and earth attributes and laws here seem to be stronger than outside. It's at least 10 times stronger, the system said. Amazing, Jun Changshao was instantly overjoyed. The brand new high-grade space-time secret realm had a time acceleration of 100 times and 10 times the heaven and earth attributes of the outside world. The cultivation speed of disciples inside would definitely be very fast. The system said, if the host had such a secret realm when he just came up, the overall strength of the sect would probably have reached the level of a martial grand emperor. The middle-grade space-time secret realm could still be used. However, because it was incompatible with the attributes of the upper realm, the disciples would come in every once in a while. The purpose was not to cultivate, but to comprehend martial arts. Now the high-grade space-time secret realm not only solved the compatibility problem, but also had rich heaven and earth attributes. It was definitely a holy land for cultivation. Of course, the brand new secret realm inherited the disadvantages of the middle-grade secret realm. One could only cultivate inside for 10 days, and the cooldown time was 1 month. It was okay. There was still the high-grade ninth heaven secret realm. The function of this secret realm was similar to the middle grade, but the ninth heaven inside gathered purer attributes. Patriarch Li Qingyang, who had cultivated in the thunder heaven, walked out and said in surprise, the thunder attributes gathered here are not inferior to the thunder pool of the thunder rhombus race. He was able to quickly advance to the first transformation core realm in such a short time, because he entered the thunder pool with his life contract beast and went through more than 300 days of tempering. Now that the Sect's secret realm had a cultivation place that was not inferior to the thunder pool, he could enter and cultivate at any time in the future. It would be difficult for him not to improve his realm. The appearance of the 2 high-grade space-time secret realms meant that the sect of all times had stronger cultivation facilities. Of course, the effect could not be seen in the short term. It would take time to prove it. Patriarch. Inside a room the size of a football field, Xiao Ziji widened his eyes and said, this brand new molding room is too big. It should be able to accommodate 500 to 600 people. No, Jun Changshao said. You are in an independent space now. There are hundreds of similar ones that can easily accommodate 10,000 people. A molding room with 500,000 contribution points was super. Are you ready? I'm ready. Jun Changshao exited the room and activated the molding room with his spiritual thoughts. The timer was set for 8 hours. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound from the inside, as well as screams of agony. 8 hours later, the door opened by itself, and Xiao Zui was brought out on a stretcher. His whole body was covered with cuts and bruises, and it was a tragic sight. As expected, Jun Changshao held his chin and said, "The effect is great." Puffed. Xiao Ziji spat out white foam. The so-called super referred to the top-notch super. Therefore, the newly bought molding room's effect of tempering the body was terrifying. Even Xiao Ziji, who had carried a stone in the Black Turtle region, could not withstand it. The next day, Xiao Ziji, who was carried back to his residence by the disciples, walked out energetically. Every inch of his skin was much stronger than before. He was ecstatic and said, "It still feels the same, it still smells the same." They could only wait and see how big of a change the 3 new martial arts facilities would bring to the sect. After eating, Jun Changshao snapped his fingers and said, "Let's go." Swish, swish. Lu Qianqian, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, Yi Xingchen, and Su Xiaoma left the ancient immortal mountain under the gazes of their fellow disciples. They took the first step to fight for the sect's honor in the new world. Are you confident in winning the championship? I am confident. There were still 5 months before the grand competition held in Majestic City. Because the disciples had all reached the first transformation core realm and could use the ability to fly, Jun Changshao was not in a hurry. Instead, he traveled through the mountains and forests to find demonic beasts to train with. 5 months later, Majestic City, which was bigger than Lin Yuan City, was filled with sects from all over the world. The main street was filled with cultivators wearing the same clothes. Swish, swish. Right at this moment, dozens of cultivators wearing high-class sect uniforms flew into the city on flying treasures. 9 Elements True Sect. Everyone exclaimed, and their eyes were filled with envy. As a larger city, Majestic City forbade cultivators from flying without permission. However, sects of the true grade and above weren't restricted. What fucking status? This was fucking status. Who? Just as everyone was envious of the 9 Elements True Sect, a heavy aura came from outside the city, and the sky darkened. All the cultivators subconsciously looked up and saw a battleship slowly appearing in the sky above the city. The powerful aura it emitted was daunting. This is, seeing the 4 bold words engraved on the ship, everyone exclaimed in unison, the archaic warship. What is there to be surprised about? Jun Changshao, who was standing at the bow of the ship, shook his head helplessly. The system broke down. Taking out the ancient battleship outside the city and bringing the disciples in. Will this fellow die immediately if he doesn't act cool? Chapter 1407. Majestic Might City forbade flying, but truth-level sects were not restricted. Thus, when the 9 Elements True Sect entered the city on a flying treasure, everyone was envious. They even enjoyed it a little, and a rather proud expression appeared on their faces. Unfortunately, Jun Changshao was more professional when it came to acting. He drove the ship straight in, not only stealing the 9 Elements True Sect's glory, but also causing a huge commotion. What was style? What was identity? This was it. Moreover, in order to act cool in the most effective way, the ancient warship had burned tens of thousands of magnetite to travel from the outskirts of the city to the city. Let me ask you one thing. Are you convinced? Convinced. All the martial artists in the city were convinced. They were not convinced that he was good at acting cool, but that he could drive the ancient warship, which meant that he was Jinren Tonggu's personal disciple. Combined with the news that had spread in the pugilistic world in the past 2 years, all the martial artists had already determined that the handsome young man, standing at the bow of the ship, was probably the patriarch of the sect of all times, Jun Changshao. When they were developing in the lower realm, Go Sheng's challenge to the Sacred Spring sect was gradually known by the world, and he began to stand out. Now he had become a household name, after just a few years in the upper realm. There was no other reason. His sect and his own strength were not enough, but he had an overbearing master. Whoosh! Whoosh! Several streaks of light sped over from the direction of the city lord's residence. The leader was the city lord of majestic might city Taorinyu. He stopped in midair, and hurriedly cupped his hands. June Patriarch, your presence brings light to this humble city. Damn! A martial artist exclaimed. Even the city lord came to welcome him personally. After all, he is Jinren Tonggu's personal disciple. Even if he went to a truth-level sect, he would be treated as an honored guest. The expressions of the 9 Elements' true sect experts were a little interesting. They had rushed over in a grandiose manner, but they did not receive the city lord's personal welcome. Comparisons were odious. However, the 9 Elements' true sect was not vexed, because his identity alone was qualified for the city lord to welcome him personally. Without the usual martial artist's disdain, without the sect's ridicule, Go Sheng had received the highest treatment in this competition. Oh, Jun Changshao asked in surprise, you know me? The system was speechless. He had clearly taken out the worship to show off, but now he was pretending to be confused. How could a person be so shameless? City Master Tao smiled and said, June Patriarch led the entire sect to resist the formation of heavenly thunder of 10,000 tribulations and ascend. Who in the entire upper world doesn't know about this? Who doesn't know about this? This flattery was just right. It also showed that he had studied Jun Changshao before. To be more precise, after knowing that his master was Jinren Tonggu, anyone who was interested would take the initiative to investigate. Lucky, Jun Changshao said modestly as he stopped the warship in the central square of the city. Shua, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others jumped down one after another. Seeing this, City Lord Tao asked, could it be that Jun Patriarch is here to participate in the sect tournament? Not bad. Jun Changshao kept the warship in his space ring and cupped his hands. May I ask where the registration point is? City Lord Tao smiled and said, the sect tournament this time will be held by my majestic city. Coincidentally, I'm the city lord of a city, so I can handle it for Jun Patriarch directly. Oh, Jun Changshao hurriedly cupped his hands again. So it's City Lord Tao. My apologies. The two of them could be considered acquaintances. Next, after some pleasantries, Jun Changshao said that he would find an inn to rest for the night and bring his documents to the city lord's office tomorrow to handle the sect tournament procedures. Jun Patriarch. City Lord Tao hurriedly said, I've already arranged a place for you and your disciple to stay. If you don't mind, please follow me. How can I accept this? Although Jun Changshao said so, his body was honest, and he brought his disciple along. It was free and cheap. It would be a waste not to take advantage of it. City Lord Tao had arranged a single large courtyard for him. There were many rooms inside, and there was nothing to complain about in terms of environment. As for handling the sect tournament procedures, he didn't even need to go to the city lord's office, because someone would be sent the next day. The treatment was so good that it made others jealous. It's good to have a backer. Sitting in the small pavilion, Jun Changshao happily drank a mouthful of tea. It was good to have a backer, but at the same time, no one dared to provoke him. Even if he went out for a stroll, the martial artists would watch from afar. There were no playboys or sect disciples that dared to provoke him. After staying in the city for a few days, Jun Changshao said helplessly, boring. Because no one gave Go Sheng a chance. The author didn't have any conflicts to write about, so he directly wrote about it on the day of the sect tournament. On this day, the sun was shining brightly, and the wind was blowing gently. The open-air spectator seats in the southern part of Majestic City were already filled with martial artists from all walks of life. Jun Changshao was arranged in the VIP area with the best view of the battle. He had just been led over by someone, and the big shots of the various sects who had rushed over in advance all stood up and cupped their fists in greeting. No, you don't have to be so polite. Mock me as much as you can, and let me slap your faces. At this moment, Jun Changxiao noticed that the old man sitting at the front was still sitting in his seat. He sighed and said lightly, "You are?" The old man cupped his hands and smiled. "This humble one is Xiao Xinfeng. Because of my leg injury, I can't stand up. Please forgive me, Jun Patriarch." Jun Changxiao almost fell to the ground. All the sect elders were so polite to him. Only one person didn't stand up. And it was because of his illness. This motherfucker didn't even give him a chance to slap his face. Inside the venue, the participants from all the major sects were rubbing their hands. Their mentality was different from that of the sect elders. Although they knew that the Eternal Sect was participating in the competition, they did not think that the other party was that great. After all, they had just ascended to the upper realm, and the sect leader only had an awesome master. Indeed, this kind of great sect competition didn't depend on who had a high status or who had a strong background. It depended on real strength. In the area where the Severing Emotions True Sect was located, a disciple in his early 20s smiled and said, "In this great sect competition, eldest senior brother will definitely come out on top." That's right. His fellow disciples agreed, and they happened to be the group of people that Yi Xingchen had met when he was out in the wild. The other 3 true sects have sent their experts. In this great sect competition, I will go all out. Eldest senior brother said seriously. There was no arrogance, only caution. This was the attitude that a participant should have. However, eldest senior brother and his fellow disciples would never have dreamed that in the next area, Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji were warming up before the competition. Their eyes gradually sharpened, like a beast that had been unsealed. Next, on the high platform of the venue, after an impassioned speech, City Lord Tao announced in a clear voice, "We invite the participating disciples of the various sects to enter." It's finally begun. Su Xiaoma stopped stretching his legs, and the corners of his mouth raised into a smile. "Let's go." Lu Qianqian led everyone into the dark passage until they stepped into the light and appeared in the venue. The other sect participants also came out from different passages and then subconsciously looked over. They were very curious about the sect of all times' disciple who was smuggled in. What was the difference between them and them? Senior brother. A disciple of the Severing Emotions True Sect pointed to Yi Xingchen and exclaimed, "It's him." Everyone looked over, and when they saw the other party's cold and arrogant face, they suddenly remembered the fierce man who killed a first-stage transformation demon beast in seconds. No way. This guy is actually a disciple of the sect of all times. The faces of the Severing Emotions True Sect participants suddenly showed despair. Eldest senior brother secretly said, "Although this person's aura did not appear, my intuition tells me that his strength is not simple." Yi Xingchen, who was walking along the road, found that someone was looking at him, so he turned his head to look. Because of a slight frown, his eyes inadvertently revealed a very strong hostility, which suddenly shocked the Severing Emotions True Sect participants and made them retreat. With just a look, he disrupted their formation. Night Emperor awesome. Chapter 1408. After staying in the beast race's territory for a long time, it would definitely accumulate a vicious aura. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji and the others also had it, but because of their personality, they suppressed it very well. Yi Xingchen was different. He always wanted to maintain his aloof and cold persona, so he often did not deliberately suppress his vicious aura. Even a simple frown was enough to release it. Persona? Ever since he slept in the livestock pen, he had already collapsed to the sky. In the distance, the participants from the other sects were also shocked, as they secretly said, "Fierce person. This disciple of mine is a bit ruthless." Jun Changxiao also did not expect that Yi Xingchen would only glance at him and scare away all the participants from the other sections. The expression on the face of the Severing Emotions True Sect's senior apprentice brother became even more dignified. This kind of demonic beast's vicious eyes brought him a huge pressure. If he could choose, it would be best not to meet him in the beginning stage of the competition. Fear before the battle. This was a military taboo. The participants from the other sects were also afraid. They thought that the biggest opponents in this competition would be the 4 true rank Sect's disciples, but they did not expect that a Sect of all times disciple would appear halfway. Don't meet him in the first round. Lining up one after another, most of the participants prayed in their hearts that they would not meet that beast-like guy. Start drawing lots to decide the first round's opponents, City Lord Tao announced. The participants from the various sects stepped onto the stage one after another, reaching into the array formation enchanted box and taking out their number plates. A little while later, it was the Sect of all time's turn. Lu Qianqian, Xiao Ziji and the others took out their number plates one after another, not attracting anyone's attention. When Yi Xingchen started walking, everyone began to feel nervous and apprehensive. Anyo's eyes had disrupted the formation, becoming the most feared existence among the participants. Number 3. The referee announced. Everyone subconsciously looked at their number plates, and after confirming that they were not in the same situation as the other party, they suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. The Sect's disciple holding the number 4 plate, lying on the ground like mud, was finally carried down by the officials, looking like a person who had to join the army after drawing a red lot. Not bad, not bad. A disciple looked at the harmless Su Xiaoma and secretly rejoiced. My opponent is him. Because Yi Xingchen was very ruthless, the contestants were all afraid of him. People like Li Qingyang, who looked very honest, were not much of a threat. The contestant who drew Lu Qianqian was overjoyed. After all, not to mention her strength, she was at least as beautiful as a fairy. Contestants with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 90, please step onto the corresponding stage. After a short break, City Lord Tao said loudly, Shua, Shua. Contestants stepped onto the fighting stages one after another. Yi Xingchen also went on stage. When he saw his opponent being carried up by the officials, he uttered his classic catchphrase, trash. AI. In the VIP area, the higher-up of the contestant shook his head helplessly. Because there were 4 truth-level contestants in this Sect tournament, he didn't want to participate at first. However, the patriarch didn't listen and insisted on sending a disciple to try. In the end, he didn't meet the top 4 in the first round and instead met an even fiercer one. He was bound to lose. He could only pray that he would lose with dignity. Begin. At this moment, the referee announced loudly. However, before the referee finished speaking, the frightened contestant raised his hand and said, I concede. Boom. Yi Xingchen's big hand pressed down and directly pressed him to the ground. His eyes were cold as he said, If you're a man, then fight to the end. His words were right, but the hostility in his eyes instantly disturbed the contestant, causing his eyelids to roll back and his limbs to go limp, causing him to faint. It started and ended. After confirming that contestant number 4 had lost consciousness, the referee announced with a dumbfounded expression, Sect of all times, Yi Xingchen advances to the second round. The audience's expressions became interesting. The first round ended too quickly. Couldn't they have time to eat peanuts or melon seeds? Whoosh! Yi Xingchen released his hand and jumped off the stage, unable to hide the disappointment in his eyes. Su Xiaomo raised his thumb and said, Junior brother Yi is no longer the junior brother Yi, who was bullied by junior brother Sun Muching back then. Yi Xingchen's face darkened. Could he forget about such a shameful past? Could he not mention it? The other 3 stages were still full of fighting. After Jun Changxiao's observation, he found that most of the contestants were between Half-Sage and Wu Sheng. So he shook his head and said, If I knew, I would have sent Li Tiantian and the others. The battle continued. Lu Qianqian was the second to go on stage. As a rare female contestant and an outstanding beauty, she naturally attracted the attention of everyone. However, when the battle began and her opponent bowed gracefully, he was sent flying by an ice palm print. Huh! Jun Changxiao said in surprise. Did my eldest disciple cultivate martial arts in the Ice Phoenix clan? Lu Qianqian of the Sect of all times advances to the second round. After the referee's announcement, it immediately caused a heated discussion. They began to pay attention to Lu Qianqian's appearance, but they did not expect her to be so strong that she could instantly kill a disciple of a mystic-level sect. Whoosh! Whoosh! Su Xiaoma stepped onto the stage as well. She took a step forward, forming a complicated silhouette. The contestant who had been secretly delighted earlier was dizzy. When she stopped, he fell to the ground with stars spinning in his head. So fast. This disciple's strength is also not bad. Everyone was shocked. Li Qingyang went on stage next. Because of his steady personality, although he won the battle in the end, the whole process did not cause too much shock. Phew! All the martial artists heaved a sigh of relief and thought to themselves, finally, there's a normal person. For a sect that had just ascended to the upper realm, 3 disciples defeated the contestants in an instant. It was a bit exaggerated, so Li Qingyang's performance was very ordinary, which made them think it was reasonable. For the sect of all times, the last one to go on stage was Xiao Ziji. Although he also wanted to keep a low profile like second senior brother, his opponent did not live up to his expectations and directly flew out of the arena with a punch. No way. He broke down in his heart and said, I only used a little strength. This kind of invisible pretentiousness was taught by Go Sheng. The first round was over. All 5 disciples of the sect of all times advanced. Because of the suppression in terms of strength, they won the second and third rounds with absolute advantage. Not bad, not bad. Jun Chengxiao's lips curled into a smile. Although he participated in this sect competition for the rewards, the main reason was to test the results of the disciples' 2 years of cultivation. Now, it seemed that the results were not bad. He felt good. The elders of the various sects were full of despair. As the rounds continued, the opponents became stronger and stronger, and the disciples of the sect of all times could easily defeat their opponents. Only then did they deeply understand that Yi Xingqian was not the only one who was amazing. There were 4 others. It's over. This sect competition will definitely be the sect of all times. From the very beginning of the competition, every opponent has been crushed. Even that disciple called Li Qingyang looked very ordinary, but he still easily defeated the contestants from the true class sects. Originally, it was a competition between the sect disciples, but when Li Qingyang and the others tore off the sheepskin covering their bodies and revealed their wolf nature, it suddenly lost its excitement and suspense. Of course, the true sect had strong contestants, such as the eldest disciple of the Severing Emotions true sect. In the next round, he was matched with Yi Xingqian. As far as I know, Cui Wuqing has already cut off his 3 emotions, and his strength is close to the revolving core realm. Maybe he can stop the momentum of the sect of all times. If even he can't beat, then there is really no suspense. Everyone pinned their hopes of stopping the disciples of the sect of all times from advancing to the next round on the eldest disciple of the Severing Emotions true sect. Just cut off his 3 emotions? Jun Chengxiao heard everyone and shook his head. Compared to my disciple who was betrayed and murdered by his own woman, he is far from being heartless. The system couldn't help but ridicule Yi Xingqian. Can you not mention it? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.